Is your local business or organization looking to give back to the community? Help keep our roads clean by joining the Adopt a Road program administered by Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful. Keeping our roads clean is a great way for team building as well as exposure for your business. Select the road your business wants to adopt and dispatch a team to remove litter and debris. Participants will receive 2 signs showing their organization's name as well as safety equipment and instructions for cleaning roads. You can help keep Tampa Bay beautiful by adopting your own road today. To learn more, visit hcfl.gov/cleanhc.
Don't let mosquitoes ruin your day. Fight the bite by removing standing water on your property. Standing water of any kind is a breeding ground for mosquitoes. Do your part and help reduce the mosquito population.
Visit hcfl.gov/fightthebite.
Hello, Mother. Something smells good.
Good morning, sweetie. I'm making breakfast for you. Can you clean the bacon pan for me?
Sure thing. No, Billy, don't do it. It's bad for your pipes and bad for the environment.
Don't listen to him, Billy. Just pour it down the drain and forget about it. What's a little grease going to do?
Actually, there's a lot that grease can do to damage your home and the environment. Picture this. When you decide to pour fats, oils, or grease down the drain, you are letting those substances harden up and stick to your pipe walls, causing clogs and backups in your home that can eventually lead to expensive repairs. And can also cause gross smells and a nasty situation for your neighborhood and the environment.
You can smell it.
Instead, when the substance cools down, stick it in a plastic container. Make sure the lid is sealed tight and drop it off at your nearest cooking oil recycling station in Hillsborough County. That way, you're helping the environment and saving your family money, so they can buy you that new skateboard you've always wanted.
All right.
It's a win-win for everyone.
New skateboard? Oh, yeah. Your way is definitely better than mine. Let's recycle that grease.
For more information on how you can recycle your fats, oils, or grease, visit hcflgov.net/core.
Good evening and welcome to the December 16th, 2024 Zoning Hearing Master Meeting. I'm Pamela Jo Hatley. I'll be serving as your Zoning Hearing Master this evening. Before we get started with the meeting, would you please stand as you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance? Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you so much. Again, I'm Pamela Jo Hatley, and I'll be serving as your Zoning Hearing Master this evening. And again, before we get started, if you have any noise-making devices with you tonight, would you please take a moment to silence those at this time? And thank you for that. And I would like to introduce Michelle Heinrich with the Hillsborough County Development Services Department. Ms. Heinrich will introduce any agenda changes, withdrawals, or continuances, and the published changes.
Good evening, Michelle Heinrich, Development Services. Also with us to my left, we have Mary Dorman with the Hillsborough County Attorney's Office, and with the Planning Commission, Tyreek Royal. And I will go ahead and first go over the unpublished changes, which begins with agenda page 7, item A25, and this is standard rezoning 24-1210. A revised continuance blurb has been added to correct the ZHM hearing date to January 14th, 2025, and that is reflected correctly in the agenda. The backup's been corrected. Number 2 is agenda page 9, item C1, standard rezoning 24-0775. A revised report has been added with multiple corrections, differentiated via strike through and underline. Item 3 is agenda page 9, item C2, standard rezoning 24-1060. A revised report has been added to the backup with multiple corrections, differentiated with strike through and underline. Agenda page 10, item C3, standard rezoning 24-1203. A revised staff report has been added to the backup with multiple corrections in strike through and underline. Agenda page 10, item C, standard rezoning 24-1297. A revised staff report has been added to include transportation comments, which added pages 12 through 14. Agenda page 10, item C5, standard rezoning 25-0059. A correction to the application has been made from RZPD to RZSTD on the agenda, and a revised report has been submitted with corrections in strike through and underline. Let's see, item D1, major mod 24-0384. A revised report has been added with multiple corrections and strike through and underline. Item D2, PD rezoning 24-1040. A revised staff report has been entered with multiple corrections, differentiated and strike through and underline. Agenda page 11, item D3, standard rezoning 24-1231. A revised staff report has been added, which includes transportation, updating data in tables on page 6 through 7, and adding pages 15 through 20, as well as other corrections shown in strike through and underline. And I'll now go through the published withdrawals and continuances. Let's see. Our first item is item A1, PD 24-0459. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A2, major mod 24-0468. This application is being continued by the applicant to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A3, PD 24-0537. This application has been withdrawn from the hearing process. Item A4, PD 24-0591. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A5, major mod 24-0675. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the January 14th ZHM hearing. Item A6, major mod 24-0788. This application has been withdrawn from the hearing process. Item A7, PD 24-0858. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A8, PD 24-0921. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the March 24th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A9, PD 24-0924. This application is being continued by the applicant to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A10, PD 24-1013. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A11, PD 24-1075. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A12, Major Mod 24-1110. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A13, PD 24-1116. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A14, PD 24-1135. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A15, Major Mod 24-1137. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A16, PD 24-1139. This application is being continued by the applicant to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A17, Major Mod 24-1141. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A18, PD 24-1147. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the February 18th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A19, Major Mod 24-1152. This application is being continued by staff to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A20, PD 24-1155. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A21, PD 24-1169. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the February 18th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A22, PD 24-1172. This application has been withdrawn from the hearing process. Item A23, Standard Rezoning 24-1180. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A24, PD Rezoning 24-1202. This application is being continued by the applicant to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A25, Standard Rezoning 24-1210. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A26, PD Rezoning 24-1212. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A27, PD 24-1240. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A28, PD 24-1257. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A29, PD 24-1261. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A30, PD 24-1262. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A31, PD 24-1263. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A32, PD 24-1264. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A33, Standard Rezoning 24-1289. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. Item A34, PD 24-1311. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the January 14th, 2025 ZHM hearing. And item A35, Special Use 24-1333 is being withdrawn from the hearing process. And that concludes our published withdrawals and continuances.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. The hearing tonight, I'll just read through the procedures. The agenda consists of items that require a public hearing by a hearing master before going to the Board of County Commissioners for the final decision. I will conduct a hearing tonight on each item and will submit a written recommendation. My written recommendation will be filed with the clerk of the board within 15 working days after the conclusion of today's public hearings. The Board of County Commissioners will consider the record of today's public hearings and my recommendations and will make the final decision on the application at a publicly noticed meeting at a date and time set by the Board of County Commissioners. The hearings today will be informal. I will ask questions related to the scope of direct testimony and may call and question witnesses as I deem appropriate. I will decide all questions of procedure. I will take evidence, but will exclude evidence that is irrelevant, immaterial, or unduly repetitious. Evidence may be presented in written form, and all testimony shall be under oath. Hearsay evidence may be used to supplement or explain other evidence, but shall not be sufficient alone to support a finding of fact unless it would be admissible over objections in a civil court action. The order of presentation tonight shall be as follows. First, the county staff will introduce each item. The applicant and the applicant's witnesses will have 15 minutes to present the proposal. Development Services Department will have 5 minutes to present its findings and recommendations. The Planning Commission will have 5 minutes to present its finding of compliance or non-compliance with the comprehensive plan. Proponents will have 15 minutes to present arguments in support of the proposal. Opponents will have 15 minutes to present arguments against the proposal. County staff will then have 5 minutes to present any amended recommendations, and the applicant will have 5 minutes for rebuttal and summation. The 15 minutes that are designated for proponents and opponents is the total time allotted among all speakers. So if there are a number of persons who wish to speak on an item, the 15 minutes will be distributed among the speakers. If there are a number of speakers who wish to speak on an item, you also may designate a single spokesperson to represent your views. When you come to the microphone to speak, please first state your name and address for the record. The meeting is being recorded, so please speak into the microphone clearly so your testimony can be recorded. When you're finished speaking, please see the clerk on my left here to sign in. Now we'll hear from the County Attorney's Office on the legal requirements for requesting oral argument at the public hearing where the Board of County Commissioners will make a final decision.
Mary Dorman from the County Attorney's Office. Tonight's public hearing is the first step of a two-step rezoning process. This hearing is the time for rezoning applicants and interested parties to present evidence and testimony. Any evidence presented tonight will become part of the complete factual record of each application, and no additional evidence can be introduced after the closing of each application. The second step of the rezoning process is a public meeting before the Board of County Commissioners, where the board will make a decision on each application heard tonight. Tonight's applications are scheduled to be heard by the board at its February 11th, 2025 land use meeting, unless a different date is stated by staff. When considering applications, the board will only review the record and the recommendation made by the land use hearing officer for each application. The land use hearing officer will file a recommendation for each application heard tonight on January 9th, 2025. The Board of County Commissioners has established a policy that directs which rezoning and major modification applications are to be placed on the consent agenda of the board's land use meeting. Applications that propose to add density outside the urban service area and applications that are on roadways with a failing level of service are not qualified for placement on the consent agenda. Applications that do not have consistent recommendations of approval or denial are also not qualified to be placed on the consent agenda. Finally, applications that have had evidence or testimony provided to the record by non-applicant parties of record, either prior to or at tonight's public hearing, are not qualified for placement on the consent agenda. The board will allow testimony by any party of record at its public meeting to consider the land use hearing officer's recommendation for any item on the regular agenda. Testimony by a party of record shall be limited to the record of the proceedings before the land use hearing officer unless additional evidence has been found admissible in accordance with Section 10.03.04D of the Land Development Code. A party of record is an individual who fits at least one of the following four categories. First, someone who's present tonight and presents testimony or documentary evidence. Second, someone who has been certified by the U.S. Postal Service as having been mailed notice of tonight's hearing. Third, someone who submitted documentary evidence to the master file at least 2 business days prior to tonight's hearing. Or fourth, someone who submitted documentary evidence by proxy at tonight's hearing. The content of oral argument before the board shall be limited to the content of the testimony and other evidence submitted verbally or in writing to the land use hearing officer. It is the role of the county attorney's office to ensure that only individuals who have met these requirements are allowed to speak before the board, and to ensure that no new evidence or testimony is introduced or allowed at the board's public meeting. For these reasons, please make sure that all information you wish the board to consider at its public meeting is entered into tonight's record.
Thank you, Ms. Dorman, and I apologize, but I have to ask you something. I zoned out for a second, and then I thought I heard the date January 9th, 2025 brought up, and I just want to make sure that we have it on the record that the final decision where the Board of County Commissioners will meet is February 11th, 2025. Is that correct? Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. I just apologize. That was my hearing mistake, I think.
No worries.
All right, thank you. Okay, so tonight all testimony must be under oath. If you plan to speak tonight, would you please stand and raise your hand to be sworn in? If there are any persons online who plan to speak as well, would you raise your hand to be sworn in? All right. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right.
I do.
I do.
Thank you. All right, before we call the first case, I have to ask, is the applicant here for the last case on the agenda tonight? The last case is, let's see here, PD 24-1231. Is the applicant's representative here for that case? If you are, would you please come forward? Okay.
Hi, Madam Hearing Master. Jeremy Couch with Tampa Civil. Elise Batsell with Stearns Weaver is our applicant. I don't see her here, but I'm sure she's going to be here.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to bring this up before, because you're last on the agenda tonight, and I wanted to bring it up so you could talk to your client or to your attorney and see if you wanted to make any decisions. In 2016, I represented the owner of one of these parcels of land in a case that involved a dispute among all the parcel owners, and it wound up in litigation. But it was settled and it was over in 2016. My representation had nothing to do whatsoever with the current owner of these properties. It had nothing whatsoever to do with this rezoning, but I just wanted to disclose that so that if the applicant or your representative have any concerns, that, you might have the option to request a continuance. So that's all.
Can I ask her to speak to that in between cases prior to us coming up?
Yes, let staff know, and they'll let me know, and if any decision needs to be made, I can make room for that in the agenda. But I have no doubt that I can hear this case objectively and make a recommendation based on the evidence before me in the record.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay. All right, we're ready to hear the first case. Thank you.
Our first item is item C1, standard rezoning 24-0775. The applicant is requesting a rezoning from BPO to CGR. Isis Brown with Development Services will present staff findings after the applicant's presentation.
All right. Applicant?
That's me. Is this the right? Yeah, that's the right one. Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, hearing officer and staff. My name is Todd Pressman, 200 2nd Avenue South, number 451 in St. Petersburg. This is RZ 24-0775. We're located in the very far north area of Hillsborough County, up in the Lutz area. As you can see, north of Sunset Lane on 41. It is 1.97 acres in the Lutz area, Lutz community, currently zoned BPO. This is as the property appraiser has the several parcels. It is across the street from 4th Avenue from the old Lutz Elementary School. Issue is BPO to CGR. The restricted uses, number one, is a dedication for right-of-way, and restricted uses, which are minor and major auto repair, convenience store with or without gas. Since the last CHM meeting, which we asked for a 2-month continuance, we did spend a lot of time working on the application. We did arrange a meeting room and met with quite a number of residents. These are some of the folks who signed up at the meeting to make them aware of what we're proposing and hearing issues and concerns, which we heard some issues and concerns which we worked to address. But basically, as we're presenting this application, it has to do with the established intensity of the area, the zoning trend of the vicinity, and an issue that has drawn us into the existing school traffic that is very impacting in the area. So looking at the general vicinity, it's US Highway 41 is a 6-lane highway, carries almost 400,000 vehicles per day, and obviously is a major arterial. Hillsborough County, on its functional classification, has it as a state principal arterial roadway. It is also one of the dedicated truck route paths in the county. The Lutz Community Plan notes that the improved Dale Mabry Highway and 41 both provide substantial north-south access between Hillsborough and Pasco counties. I think that's pretty evident. There's really only a couple, maybe 3 main routes, and this would be one of them, and the community plan recognized that. It's located at a lit intersection as a 6-lane divided highway. This is looking at the site northbound. The site is over to the right and designated. The old Lutz School's in the middle, and there's a rail line that runs on the other side of 41. Looking south, the old Lutz School's on the left. You can see the site indicated on the left and 41 and the rail line. On the future land use map, we're R6, which is suburban commercial, office, multi-purpose, and mixed use. When you look at the immediate area, from the zoning site, you see the CG abutting on the south, CG that was recently approved just south of that, and CG to the north. Looking even further out, CG is the primary zoning. Across the street is sit-down restaurant, specialty retail, drugstore, and childcare, which is done through a PD, and CG runs to the north. The CG, 2 lots, well, 2 zoning categories to the south, was approved in May of 24. That would be May of 23. We do also have support of the North Tampa Bay Chamber, who expressed their support for this rezoning, that noting the area already is predominantly CG zoning and will promote economic growth, aligning with local development growth. So we're glad to have their support. And across the street, as I indicated, is PD 00-0303, which is 75,000 square feet office, sit-down restaurant, specialty retail, drugstore, and childcare. The locational waiver is based upon the intensities that I've drawn or that I presented to you, the corridor zoning, which includes the recent zoning approval, 2 zoning lots to the south. Now, the Planning Commission notes the community design component, Goal 12, Objective 21, indicate that new developments should recognize the existing community pattern, and we believe that the zoning pattern clearly is a CG commercial category as it runs along Highway 41. Luce Community Plan notes that the use community borders Pasco County, which is experiencing suburban growth close to the Luce area. The improved Dale Mabry Highway and US 41 both provide substantial north-south access between the 2 counties. Under Luce Community Plan notes utilizing existing transportation corridors make transit accessible, which this does in two different ways. Planning Commission notes the proposed zone to CG is not consistent with the existing pattern and character of the area. It's not located in a major intersection where more intense uses are expected. So we would differ with that in that I've shown you that the zoning in the immediate area is commercial and is intensive. Now, when we began this issue, we were not completely aware of an impacting issue, which is school traffic issue. And the situation is that the school is located, as you can see to the right, deep into that area and on just a very local, quiet, small 2-lane road. So you have 1 exit and 1 enter lane on 4th Avenue Southeast, which is lit, and then you have 1st Avenue South, 1st Avenue Southeast that come around for drop-off, and you end up having a significant and tremendous traffic jam. So we are as well a victim, or we are as impacted as everyone else is in regard to school traffic. It's there, it backs up, it's a difficulty. We sat down to try and decide how can we address and make the situation better. We didn't just want to say, okay, school's causing problems and traffic's causing problems. We wanted to try, and this was discussed at the community meeting, is how we can all move forward because we're impacted like everyone else for a solution. So one solution that we talked to the county engineer with was provide a dedication for land for a 2nd lane out on 4th Avenue Southeast. We also looked to the south on 5th Avenue. You can see that there is what appears to be easements and such, but we looked at the option on 4th Avenue for that improvement, which is in line with Michelle Orton, who's the general manager of growth management, Hillsborough County Public Schools, specifically, absence of a left turn lane causes significant stacking at 4th Avenue Southeast. So we took that suggestion and are bringing that forward as a part of the zoning to try and address these issues, to try and move everyone forward with a solution. So when you look...
Mr. Pressman, that would be a roadway improvement that the applicant would be responsible for?
What we're proposing is the dedication of the land.
Okay, thank you.
So as you can see in these 2 photos, you can see how the traffic backs up on the single lane. You can see how it backs up on the way out, gets stuck at light, but becomes a significant difficulty. This as well is impacted by the school traffic as well. So in summary, looking at the zoning trend of the older and newly approved sites, the intensity of the highway, the chamber support in addressing the school traffic issue, we believe that we have support or have presented a case of support for your consideration and for the communities as well. Thank you.
All right, and just, I guess, a quick question, because it seems that the site is likely not going to have any access on 41. The access is going to have to be from 4th Avenue or 1st Street, is that correct?
Well, the furthest that we've discussed it, and we have Libby Rodriguez, who's been working on traffic. We did have a pre-app with FDOT, and that is an open question, has not been determined one way or the other. Our tremendous preference is to have access on 41. Mm-hmm. But that is an open question at the moment, yes.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And be sure and sign in, please.
Good evening, Isis Brown, Development Services. Standard rezone application 24-0775. The applicant is requesting to rezone from BPO to CGR, approximately 3 parcels totaling 1.97 acres. The applicant has proposed access limitation for the parcels and restrictions to certain commercial uses to address transportation issues. The site is located on the east side of North US Highway 41 in Lutz, and the site is surrounded by properties with single-family residential, agricultural, BPO office, and commercial general type uses. The immediate adjacent properties are zoned residential RSC 6, CG to the south, to the north, US Highway, to the south, to the west, US Highway 41. The property is within the Res 4 future land use category. The site is also lays south of the old Lutz Elementary School, which is a historic landmark in the local historic landmark and registered. Transportation staff has had objections to the intensification of the site due to concerns as outlined in their report. Additionally, the Hillsborough County School Board has had some objections due to the issue of transportation. The applicant has proposed access limitations for the parcel and restrictions to certain commercial uses to address transportation concerns. The first restriction, the developer will dedicate a right-of-way for the widening of 4th Avenue Southeast to allow a second traffic lane to egress out to State Road 41. The county engineer has been briefed of this proposal. The applicant would take access from State Road 41 in 1st Street Southeast. The second, the following uses will not be allowed, which would be minor and major vehicle repair and a convenience store with or without gas station. However, based on the consideration from staff findings, the request is found not supportable.
Okay, thank you. And even with the proposed restrictions, then transportation review staff still cites objections?
That I know of, and I'm guessing transportation will speak to that aspect.
All right. Well, is transportation online, and is there a staff member who would wish to speak to the record?
Yes, good evening, Madam Zoning Hearing Master. Richard Perez, for the record, Transportation Review Section. As laid out in the revised Transportation Review comments dated December 16th, 2024, the Transportation Review Section maintains the objection previously filed with some minor revisions to the initial comments in response to the applicant's proposed restrictions. Principally, the applicant's restrictions failed to address the northbound to eastbound queuing issues at the US Highway 41 and 4th signalized intersection that we've identified in our comments, and the intensification has the potential to substantially worsen the existing condition and become a safety operational issue for the project traffic from the project site. The proposed restrictions failed to address the high-intensity drive-through uses cited by county staff and FDOT staff in their comments. And additionally, the applicant has not provided any documentation that the proposed restrictions were supported by FDOT or that all of FDOT's concerns have been resolved.
All right, Mr. Perez, thank you very much. All right, Planning Commission.
Good evening, Terry Corral, Planning Commission staff. The site has a future land use designation of Residential 6. It's located within a rural area and within the limits of the Lutz Community Plan. The proposed rezoning does not meet the FLU Objective 16 and its accompanying policies of 16.1, 16.2, 16.3, and 16.10. The proposed restrictions submitted with the rezoning request are major and minor vehicle repairs and convenience stores with or without gas. Therefore, the approval of CG zoning would allow for a broad range of CG uses on the entire 1.97 acre property. Allowable uses in the CG zoning district have the potential to introduce new incompatible uses within the area, including kennels, car wash facilities, fast food restaurants, and other similar uses that are not located within the area and are not compatible with established development. The subject site does not meet commercial locational criteria. A request to waive the CLC waiver per Flu Policy 22.8 has been submitted, but Planning Commission staff cannot support the CLC waiver because there does not seem to appear to be any unique circumstances that will warrant a CLC waiver support. Because the site does not meet CLC, nor is it located within one of the Lutz Community Plan activity nodes and does not achieve compatibility between new and existing uses, the request is not in line with the vision of the community plan. Based upon the above considerations and the following goals, objectives, and policies, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed rezoning inconsistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak to this item in support of this item? Anyone here or online who wishes to speak in support of this item? All right, I do not hear anyone. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this item? All right, how many speakers do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It looks like there are 6 people here. Is there anyone online who wishes to speak to this item?
We have one person online that wants to speak.
All right, so we have 7. Let's do the math. 2 minutes, okay. All right, about 2 minutes apiece that gives you. All right, so y'all come on up to the microphone, please, and state your name and address first. Come on, we'll take those in the audience here first, then we'll hear from the person online.
Good evening. Jay
Sorry,
Muffley.
Madam Chair, this is Dan with HTV. We have one person that signed in a little late. I just want to check them in to make sure they signed up for this item. Brian, did you check in to sign up for this item? You're muted, Brian.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Not for this item.
Oh,
I don't think it's this item.
Okay.
No.
Madam Chair, this is, we do not have anybody else signed online for this one, sorry.
Okay, so does that give us 7 speakers or 6 speakers? We had 6 here, I believe. All right, we'll go with 2 minutes apiece. Thank you.
Good evening. Jay Muffley, 102 Fifth Avenue Southeast, Lutz, Florida. Tonight I'm addressing you on behalf of the Lutz Civic Association. The Lutz Civic Association strongly opposes this request. It is not consistent with the Lutz plan. It is definitely not neighborhood compatible. We agree with and support Hillsborough County staff's report. Staff says not supportable. Transportation Department recommends denial. The Planning Commission says it's inconsistent with the Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. Development Services says it's not supportable. The Hillsborough County School Board opposes the request and their staff recommends denial. And we have a number of people opposed here that aren't going to speak. If you all would stand, please. The Lutz Civic Association requests a recommendation of denial, and that concludes that testimony. I will also say on my own behalf, I live next door across 4th Avenue, and our family's lived there for 60 years, and we're compatible with the way it is, and leave it there.
All right, Mr. Muffley, just briefly, what is your main concern? Is it the traffic, the transportation?
It just does not fit.
Because of what?
It's commercial.
Okay.
It's not really, it was Res 6. When we wrote the Lutz plan with the Hillsborough County planning staff, we left blank areas intentionally on 41. We did not want 41 a straight commercial zone.
Okay, I understand. Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, next speaker, please. And state your name and address for the record first.
Good evening. Beth Neville Rader, 18811 4th Street Southeast, Lutz, Florida, 33549. A bit of history for the audience. This was rezoned in 1298. It was the same owner and the same registered agent. Originally applied for a CG. The survey submitted then was for Hardee's, amended to be the current BPO. There was no community opposition then because it was the correct zoning to make a change. It creates the buffer that is needed between the commercial and the residential uses. Our concern is his improvement to provide land for a second lane access out to US 41. Community meeting has brought only more opposition to this plan. Although the donation of land seems generous, his agent does not own out to 4th Avenue Southeast. It is an easement. We see nothing here from utilities, nothing here from transportation. That is the traffic signal for that intersection, as well as probably a fair amount of money just went into putting underground utilities in that area. FDOT has not given input about this proposal and who would pay for the improvements. You heard him say it was an open question. We concur with staff findings to date that is inconsistent as defined business nodes and the neighborhood compatibility as it currently stands. We had no opposition in 2018 and continue to have no opposition with the current zoning. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, how are you? Josh Phillips, 29388 Meadowcroft Avenue in Wesley Chapel. I'm the principal of Lutskade, which is right behind or to the side of the property. So as a concerned leader, there's some complexities with this. As she mentioned, going from BPO to CG. Prior to that, it was residential. Each day, we have about 800 students that come, and we can visually see this property from the front of our school. We work with a lot of staff members to try to manage the traffic, to include individuals like myself, an individual and in the audience. Even with what we have in place, the congestion backs up well south on 41 north, going southbound and onto 4th Avenue. While being in this position, I've already worked with FDOT, DOT, our school district, state representative individuals, and the high level of traffic creates a very unmanageable concern. So the issue isn't necessarily the zoning, yes it is, but it's also the improvements that they're recommending are Band-Aids on an already very complex problem. If somebody were to come and spend some time up in Lutz at certain times of the day right there, it's literally the only thoroughfare in and out of our entire school. The front of our school would be sharing a parking lot onto 4th Avenue with this property. So the simple volume of vehicles that would come from a commercial property that would be sharing an entrance to our school would be problematic for students. It would be problematic for safety for individuals who would be around the campus during the school day, depending on what kind of business were to go there. And trust me, we like local people to be involved in our school. This is just a little too close. Some suggestions, like I said, that were provided may appear to be remedies, but they're simply just enhancing the challenge that is there at the school. I know there was some conversation around 7-Eleven and other commercial properties. Those don't impact our traffic as much because they're a little bit more south. This directly is connected to the intersection that we use to get in and out. So again, this issue is more about the type of business that would be there with traffic. So I know you had asked the prior person. My issue is twofold. It would be safety of students as we have students walking and traffic.
Okay, thank you. I was going to ask you that. This is an elementary school, right?
It's a K-8 school, so we have about 800 students from the age 3 to 13, 14.
Okay, and you do have students who walk to school?
Yes, some, yep.
Okay, that's all.
Okay, thank you.
That's my question. Thank you very much. All right, next speaker.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Wesley Baldwin. I live at 513 Proclamation Drive, Tampa, Florida. I'm the student body president at Lutz K. I am here to share my concerns about how this rezoning could harm our school, my classroom, and the community we love. Right now, the property near our school is zoned for business offices, which fits really well with our area. Changing it to commercial general zoning would bring businesses like fast food and restaurants or daycare centers, which would cause a lot more traffic during drop-off and pickup times, which are already hectic, I know. It would make it a lot harder for buses and families getting safely in and out of school. I'm also worried about the nearby wetlands, where zoning could increase runoff, lead to flooding and damaging the environment that surrounds our school. We should protect these natural spaces and not put them at risk. As the student body president, I'm asking you to think about the safety of the students, like me, and the long-term impact on the community. Please deny this rezoning request. Thank you.
Okay, a couple of questions. How do you get to school? Do you walk or ride the bus or take by car?
I take car.
Okay. And what do you see when you're coming to school or being picked up? Do you see lines of traffic or what do you see?
Yes. My mom's actually a teacher, so we have to drive past all the lines. It's usually a 14-car pileup every morning we get in school.
Okay. All right, that's all the questions for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
Erica Hamblin, 18320 Citation Street, Lutz, Florida, 33549. My issue is the inability to plan should the zoning be changed, regardless of whatever business may appear friendly and maybe perhaps relevant. You cannot predict the future. Businesses close all the time, and I think it's enough of a compromise at this time that it remain business professional, and that I urge you to not recommend to change the zoning.
All right, thank you. All right, next speaker.
Good evening. Trent Connor Anderson. My address is 18230 Cypress Cove Road, Lutz, Florida. As Wesley provided, it's hard to get to school. So I have a full-time job and I live very close to the school, in the same house I grew up in when I attended Lutz Elementary in the year 2000. It takes 20 minutes to drop my daughter Raina off, and it wouldn't take nearly that long if it didn't have the traffic. So as I mentioned, I once attended Lutz Elementary School myself. I started as a kindergartner in the year 2000. The traffic was significant then. My daughter's currently in kindergarten at Lutz Elementary. It's now K through 8. It was K through 5 back then. The school's a cornerstone to our community, and we love our children. We drove out here tonight to meet you all and let you know we're just worried for our children. We don't want the area to be rezoned because it's important to restrict the type of business that would be built so close to our school. Building a commercial general business would welcome more drivers onto this road and increase the high-intensity drive-through usage. That's indisputable. Of even more concern, especially to me with my daughter in kindergarten, this could provide school-adjacent parking spots for anyone that wants to hang around a school unwelcome, kidnap a child, or otherwise. Thank you.
Okay, just a quick question for you two. You take your child to school.
Yes, ma'am.
At this school. And what do you, I guess you take your child to school by car, you don't walk, right? Or by vehicle.
By vehicle.
What do you observe then? Where do you see traffic?
So the traffic is well on to US 41. We live mainly off of Sunset, and it's really, it's viewable as soon as I turn on to US 41 from Sunset.
Okay, so the queuing line basically goes down 41?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, are there any other speakers here, present here in the room? All right, and did we have one speaker online?
The speaker online was signed up for a different item.
Different case. All right, so that's all the speakers then. Everyone who wished to speak tonight to this case has been able to speak. Is that right? Okay, thank you. All right, where are we? County Development Services, anything further?
Nothing further, ma'am.
Okay, I had a quick question for Development Services, and this may go to Transportation, but just to, some of the speakers spoke about there being no opposition to the BPO zoning, but there is opposition to the CG zoning, and just wanted to understand the difference in, I guess from a transportation point of view, so the traffic volume that could be generated by a CG use compared to the BPO use. Could Transportation speak to that?
Yes, Richard Perez for the record, Transportation Review Section. The staff report does analyze generalized worst-case scenario for both existing entitlements and worst-case scenario for the proposed zoning. Under the approved zoning, staff estimated a medical office type use built out would generate 580 daily trips, 50 a.m. peak hour trips, and 63 p.m. peak hour trips. The proposed zoning under a worst case scenario reflecting a build out with fast food restaurant with drive-through and a pharmacy with drive-through estimated a 3,928 daily trip generation, 235 a.m. peak hour, and 300 p.m. peak hour trips coming from the subject property.
All right, and I have the transportation review staff report, and I see those numbers. Thank you very much for speaking to that, Mr. Perez.
My pleasure.
Applicant, please, you have 5 minutes for rebuttal and summation.
Thank you. Appreciate all the citizens that are here this evening, heard from them loud and clear. And again, as I've indicated, we've met with them and we've tried to forge, I'll keep it short, we tried to forge everyone working together. I mean, I've heard a lot of people saying we talked to FT, this is not negative, we talked to FDOT, we talked to county transportation, whatever, but nothing's been done. This applicant is in a rare position, reiterating, while he is as strongly impacted as everyone else, is in a position to concretely and directly improve the situation, in some ways probably significantly. So we will continue to move forward and present how we can either make what we're proposing today work or potentially some other routes that may work on the south to address the issue so everyone can be in a better position at this particular vicinity. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pressman. All right, that closes the hearing on rezoning standard 24-0775.
Our next item is item C2, standard rezoning 24-1060. The applicant is requesting to rezone property from RSC2MH to AS1. Isis Brownwood Development Services will present staff findings after the applicant's presentation.
Hi, I'm Wendy Dong, 402 19th Avenue Northwest, Ruskin, Florida 33570. I'm seeking to rezone from RS2 to AS1, and currently I've been doing a small family farm for the last 4 years as I own this property, and I have no problem running the farm as a family farm with my son. I'm a single mother, and my teenager son helped me run the farm, and once in a while we get extra help. And basically, I love trees so much that I bought this property. So I have an orchard, so I have a dream someday we're gonna feed our community with our trees. I planted more than 200 fruit trees, which was tropical fruit trees, which thrive within this area where my location is. And it's hard to plant in other location north of where I'm at. So I'm trying to research also, see if this area fits well to plant a lot of tropical fruit trees. As a lot of family here, they would love to have trees to be planted in the yard to supply foods for the family in the future, or any way to enjoy for themselves. And as I found out as I moved here about 10 years ago, it's just hard to find tropical fruit trees. You can't go to Home Depot and find them. So we have to drive all the way down to Miami and other area far away and wasting a lot of gas just to get one tree for our yard. And as I progressed, I developed a love to grow a lot of the fruit tree. I learned how to graft, and I teach others how to graft. And children learn how to grow trees. And as they grow up, they teach other people how to grow trees, like their parents. And I have operated this farm for the last 4 years, knowingly this is an area within the not cul-de-sac, but I'm kind of landlocked in the back. And so I figured if I farm in here, I plant trees, it's not gonna bother anybody. So I guess it's okay for me to farm. And later, as I develop the land more by destroying the Brazilian pepper, I find out I have more problem with my neighbors. They don't like me to cut the trees down because they think Brazilian pepper is so wonderful to hide their neighborhood. So when I cut down the trees on my side to have an orchard, so the other tree will have more sun to grow. So Brazilian pepper is so invasive that they can't grow. So then I give up more problem with the neighbors. Then they start calling in, and we have disagreement, which is one side of the neighbor. So as we go along over the years, Ruskin start developing more houses there. Farmland start disappearing, and my heart just gets really sad that we're losing all this farmland, and we're getting more houses, and yet these houses, developed houses, they don't understand the importance of us to have trees, fruit trees, to help our family, to provide food just in case there's an emergency. We're able to go to our backyard and just pick our own fruits. And a lot of people, they grow up in the city, especially a lot of people grow up north in the cold part of the country. They never seen a mango before. And I'm trying to teach that people that here we can grow a lot of fruit for ourselves, like mango, especially right now, the state of Florida. We have a lot of problem with citrus diseases that kills all our citrus tree in our yard and especially our farmland. So a lot of farmers are devastated. They're crying, they're losing the land, so they're caving in, they're selling to developer.
Okay.
Yes.
I have some questions for you.
Yes.
And you brought up that you removed Brazilian pepper trees.
Yeah.
I am, of course, familiar with those. And I've looked at the subject property. I've seen the aerial view of it. I see you have the land is in around the southeast corner, I believe, and then you have a big retention pond.
Yes.
So where exactly on your property were the Brazilian peppers? Were they around the south, around the boundary, the south and east, or were they on the pond, or where?
They're all over the place, especially next to the southeast side.
Okay,
Yeah.
so neighboring property owners, would you say from the east and the south began to complain because you were removing trees?
Yes.
Okay, so that changed their view, is that
It
correct?
changed their view. They make comment, they have to stare at those mobile homes now.
I see.
And I devalue their neighborhood, but those are my trees on my
All right,
side.
and those properties to the east and to the south, are they single-family homes?
Yes, they are.
Okay, all right. Also, about the nature of your operation there, are you selling items on site, or do you ship things, or what do you do?
I do mainly shipping, and I do mainly deliver to the farms and to some of the houses. A lot of people are incapable of carrying the trees to their house.
I
so-
guess my question goes more to, do you generate a lot of traffic coming to your
ma'am.
property?
I get traffic maybe on a weekend, maybe about 2 family, 3 family. And most of them that come here, they like to look at the nature of the business, of the trees, you know, yeah.
All right. I don't think I have any more questions for you then.
Thank you.
All right. Did you have anything further you wish
yes,
to
I do.
add?
I like to present that how my property view, because around me, it used to be all farmland or some kind of commercial business. Slowly, they're selling it. So there are some property adjacent to me. They are zone AS1. They're not all residential, but somehow my property, when the owner, he changed it from, I guess it used to be a shell pit. And then after they empty all the shell, they fill it with water and start developing 2 houses. But the remaining area, some of them are still AS1 and farmlands.
Did you have something you want to show in the overhead?
Yes, I'd
You
like
can
to
place
show.
it on that device right beside you. And when you do that, it'll come up, and you can bring the microphone over if you want to talk about it, so you'll still be on the microphone. Yeah, turn it over, turn it around. It's upside down. Okay. And bring the microphone over. There you go.
Yeah, thank you. Work is where my farm is, and surrounding area right here on 15th Avenue, as you see here, this is a still development area. They're turning this section right here, as I'm pointing at, that is currently turning into a trailer park, a mobile home hookup here, and adjacent to my adjacent to my farm is right here. Yale Castle is that southeast area where people were complaining. But the new development they just developed about 2 years ago, they're supporting me. They like what I'm doing. I'm selling a lot of plants and trees to them. And they like having a farm there instead of a bunch of houses that they get bothered with it. A tree, to them, the tree doesn't bother them as much as people, in the residential area.
Okay, and on this, graphic that you're displaying, your property, is it that blue dot?
Yes, ma'am, that's
Okay.
blue dot.
All right, and then the property that you have circled, what is that?
That's that's the area that is still in development, a farm.
Okay.
They're turning it to just what I'm having right now, just trees, orchards. There's one koi pond. They sell a lot of koi fishes to the whole country. They ship everywhere and to the community also.
Okay, thank you. And that document, you're going to place it in the record, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you can leave it with the clerk right here when you sign in.
Yes, and I have another one. This actual property, we have 6.45 acres there, but there's a retention pond that takes over most of the property. But I managed to do organic farming here. I turned the water right here into the watering for the part of the plants, and don't require a lot of water for the mango trees to grow. And this is where I plant the trees, where I circle the lone part right here. And I'm able to grow them from seed, graft them, and grow them to big trees. And the process takes faster time to get fruits than the normal people would plant from seeds. So I enjoy doing that, teaching the people when they come to the farm. It's not a massive sale farm, it's more a teaching farm. And this is part of my greenhouse where I grow the trees. They're quietly sitting there most of the time until we water them. And this is where I start developing the tree from babe seedling to, this is a papaya. They grow usually within 6 months. You get fruits and food for your family really quickly. And a lot of people have never seen papaya before. Sometimes when they show up, they're really interested in growing this fruit for their family. And this is mangoes. And this is how they sit around my farm, just on the ground. And they grow from seed, and we graft them, we put them to the sun, and they just grow like that, and we put them to the bigger pots. And sometimes I ship them out to many parts of the nation, sometime in New York or some part in New Hampshire. They grow in greenhouses. And it's hard to find these to be grown in other part of the country. This is the best location and weather for a mango to be growing. And also I do research also on land where other people contaminate. We can use banana trees to suck up all the nutrient, so that cleans up the water better. So I'm trying to clean up the water that's drained from the development behind me, the southeast developed area. They drain all the fertilizer and all this water to our farm, but instead of complaining, I'm doing something about it. I'm planting a lot of banana trees there. They suck up all the nutrient that they drown over to our property and go to to the bay. So before they get there, my trees are able to do that. So I'm doing extra research for us too, and I teach that to the people. They can do that to the backyard to clean up their contaminants.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And that's about
That's all?
That's
all right.
yeah.
Just leave your documents with the clerk and sign in, please. Thank you very much. All the items that you showed in the overhead, make sure you leave them with the clerk. Thank you very much. All right, Development Services.
Good evening, Isis Brown, Development Services, Standard Rezone 24-1060. The applicant is requesting a rezone from residential single family 2 with a mobile home overlay to to agricultural single family residential AS1. Would like to note that the site contains a borrow pit which was approved in 1985. The parcel acreage is 6.45 acres. However, only approximately 1.89 acres is just land. The rest is the water. The site is located in an area comprised of agricultural and single-family residential uses, and the site is surrounded and located in the Res 4 land use category. The adjacent properties are zoned C2 to the north, Plan Development PD 031332, which is a residential subdivision to the south, a Plan Development PD 18-0795, which is also a residential subdivision to the east, and RSC2, and AR, agricultural rural, to the west. The site does exceed the minimum lot size for the Area 1 within the Ruskin Community Characteristic Guidelines. The site generally contains agricultural zoning. The size and depth of the subject parcel in relation to other adjacent agricultural and residential uses does create a pattern that is consistent to the zoning and development of the area. Based on the above consideration, staff finds that the proposed AS1 zoning district is compatible with the existing zoning district and development compatible, and staff finds the request approvable. I am available for any questions.
No questions for you. Thank you very much. All right, Planning Commission.
Good evening, Tyreek Roll, Planning Commission staff. The subject site has a future land use designation of residential 4. It's in the urban service area and located within the limits of the Ruskin and South Shore area-wide community plans. The comprehensive plan acknowledges agricultural as both a crucial industry and valuable economic asset. Policy 29.1 supports the establishment and upkeep of agricultural market centers to bolster the agricultural economy, promoting agricultural activities within and around these centers. Additionally, Policy 29.6 permits agricultural and related uses in non-rural land use categories. Rezoning to AS1 and the proposed passive agricultural activities would align well within the residential development pattern of the area and adhere to Objective 29, along with policies 29.3 and 29.6. Staff find the proposed use is an allowable use within the Res 4 and compatible with the existing development pattern found within the surrounding area. The proposal also supports the vision of the Ruskin Community Plan and the South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan. Based upon the above considerations and the following goals, objectives, and policies, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed rezoning consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan, subject to the conditions set by the Development Services Department. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in support of this application?
Hello, my name is Wong Fan. Address is 10721 Rockledge View Drive in Riverview. I'm here to support Wendy's and her business of selling tropical fruit trees. I plant a lot of fruit trees at my home, and over the years, I had a lot of issues with my trees. Anything from tree diseases to hurricane damages. And we had a few nurseries in the areas, but they were closed due to development. And having a business like Wendy is extremely helpful, and she's extremely knowledgeable. So yeah, so anyway, like I said, I'm here to support Wendy's, and I think her business is extremely beneficial to our community.
All right, thank you, sir. Is your property in the community, or how close is it to this subject property?
It's about maybe 10 minutes away.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anything further?
No, I'm good.
All right, be sure and sign in right here with the clerk, please. Thank you. All right, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in support of this application? All right, I do not hear anyone. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application?
We have one person online.
Okay. All right, sir, go ahead and state your name and address for the record, and then we'll hear your testimony.
Yeah, my name is Brian Shepard. We live at 1519 Yale Castle Court, Ruskin, Florida, 33570.
All right, go ahead. Thank you. What is your opposition?
So we strongly oppose, as we're neighbors and we live like 15 feet from the plant nursery, and it's not a family operation. She has full-time employees that work there all the time, and she runs heavy equipment. It's noisy. She works on Saturdays and Sundays and late at night. She delivers plants at sometimes at 11 o'clock at night with her big trucks and her dumping the dirt. We're concerned about the pesticide, herbicide, and fertilizer runoff. There's a 10-foot wide drainage ditch that runs right behind her whole entire property and then runs into our neighborhood, which runs behind about 25 residential homes. And this is her plants, and she's spraying, and the things that she does is right up against this. There's going to be runoff, and it's coming in behind our houses. So we're concerned that we all have young children, second grade, kindergarten, and there's a lot of environmental studies that show if you live within less than 200 feet of a nursery, your risk of childhood leukemia goes up by 300%. And all these things are being used, at a nursery, right? We're also concerned with, I guess, the owner has raised the elevations of her property between 2 and 5 feet in a lot of areas and taken away the swale to our community property, right? We had some meetings with developmental, and they recommended that she did some things. We're following up with it. None of those things have been done yet. She's just raised the elevation even more, right, which can affect all of our properties surrounding the area that this was done. The plants that she removed weren't all on her property, so we had to have it staked and showed her that she was on our property, right? So, and I'm just talking about 1519, but she also went on the community property. But she came onto our property approximately 7 feet. She removed palm trees, oak trees, Brazilian peppers. That's correct. She mentioned those. But this was like a buffer of 200 feet between the properties, right? So she just came in with her heavy equipment and took it all out, which affects our property, right? That's an easement, that is on our physical property, not her property. So when I showed her that she was on our property, she just said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I made a mistake." And this was after the fact. But, we just feel that she doesn't have any regard for the neighbors whatsoever when it comes to open burning less than 20 feet from my house, the noise with all the employees and the heavy equipment and everything else. We're very close to this property, and we're very concerned for our children, and we're very concerned for our community and our house. So that's what I have to say.
All right, sir, thank you very much. Is there anyone else here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this case? All right, I do not hear anyone. Development Services, anything further?
No, ma'am.
All right. Applicant, Mrs. Duong, do you have anything further to say? You have 5 minutes for rebuttal and summation.
Yes, I'd like to rebuttal that. What Ms. Brian Shepard said is totally wrong. My farm is organic farm. I do not spray anything. I do everything recycle. And the dirt he mentioned about bringing in to raise my property, untrue. They are for my trees. I do bring dirt in. I do not bring it at night. And sometimes we have an emergency that we do have to do something at night, but not to bring trees or operate at night. We close early, and around 5 o'clock, I do not operate equipment unless it's an emergency. And it's true that, that we do bring dirt in. And also, it's untrue that we are raising a property to trying to flood them. Untrue, because their property is 7 foot higher than our property. No way that we can flood them. That's from the county. It's from a county officer who came by our property when he accused us of cutting the trees down, and it is untrue that I'm cutting the tree that's from a lawfully area, because they have an easement, a drainage easement. It's supposed to be free and clear of all the debris. But over the years, they never clean it up. They let it grow overgrown so high with Brazilian pepper. Untrue, there's no oak there found from the county, Mr. John Beaver, county environmental commissioner. He came by, he said there is no oak tree there, all Brazilian pepper. He gave me the blessing to cut it all down. He even said, if you want to send on the bill, send on the bill because they're supposed to clear it up and they don't do it. Now they've been trying to sue for the amount that I've been cutting down on the drainage easement. My property is 7 foot lower than their property when they developed the land. So for the last storm we had, Milton, they flooded our property through our lake. Their lake flows so high that they flooded our spring lake. Right now it's full of salt. It's from their property. No way we can flood their property from being lower than they are. When they developed the land, they raised their property up 7 feet. We're still lower. And I can't let my property drown, and my tree drown, and my kids' stuff falling down the ditch. So I have to do something. When the county commissioner came by, environmental manager came by, his name is John Beaver, he said, well, I'm not flooding them. So he told Mr. Shepherd to stop harassing me every day because that's what's happening. They cannot get me to sue me on the Brazilian pepper, so they're trying to find every day of calling the EPC on me for using my own water from my pond. They call me from every single thing I do. We are being watched. They even recorded me from their second-story home, which we're about 15 feet apart, like he said, but they're recording me, everything we do. I cannot live like that. You know, I don't have a big company. I'm just a small farmer here. He's trying to make everything out of blown proportion. I'm an organic farmer. I do not spray anything. I have actual bugs that eat our dirt, turning the dirt into good soil. I recycle the fish that people fish. I bring it and I recycle it, turn them to fertilizer, put them on our plants. I do not have chemical that he's mentioning about spraying. He's assuming that I'm doing that. He never asked. I gave him my phone number. He doesn't want it. The neighbor do not want to communicate with me. All they want to complain. All I want to communicate with them, they refuse my number. Even the president, CDD president from the community. I said, I want to live in peace and have a farm here. They do not want to deal with me. All they is assume and complain. I want to live in peace. If they can,
Thank you, Ms. Duong. Just a couple of questions. One of the issues raised was noise, and one was open burning. So can you speak to...
That's untrue. We have a fire pit. Once in a while, I take all the dried brush that we have. I don't throw it anywhere, especially to the county, building up more garbage. We do organic farming, so we take the dry weed, we let it dry, and once in a while we don't burn it next to the house. I'm very careful about that. And I do environmental study, so I burn them into a small fire pit we have, which is far away on the western side, not next to their house. So they're just assuming I'm burning next to their house. We have a 6.45 acres. So I do it away from them. So they're assuming I'm doing next to their house. That's not true.
Sorry. You said on the western side. Do you mean on the western side of the borrow pit?
Northern western side. They're on the southeast side.
Okay.
Yeah, I do it farther side. So.
All right. And then the issue of noise. Is there heavy equipment that you use that makes a lot of noise at night?
No, at night, we have a rule. We don't turn anything on at night.
Okay.
Maybe he's hearing my car starting, but unless there's an emergency, like when we have a storm, we start our engine. We move stuff around during the hurricane or preparing for the hurricane. Normally, we don't work past 4 o'clock.
Okay.
As a farmer, I do work late, but not equipment.
All right. That's all the questions I have for you. Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Can I show a picture or no?
No, please. We're closing the hearing on this item. So we're closing the hearing on rezoning standard 24-1060.
Our next item is item C3, standard rezoning 24-1203. The applicant is rezoning property from RSC2 to CNR. Michelle Montalbano with Development Services will provide staff findings after the applicant's presentation.
Good evening, Hearing Officer Todd Pressman, 200 2nd Avenue South, number 451, St. Petersburg. I'm here this evening with Dr. Kevin Kovin. This is rezoning 24-1203. The issue is RSC2, seeking the CNR zoning category, 0.70 acres in the Brandon area. As the property appraiser has it, at the corner of Hurley Road and Bloomingdale Avenue. We have a number of restrictions, which are, first, no access to Bloomingdale Avenue. Second, no drive-through uses shall be permitted. Third is no following uses will be, or the following uses will not be permissible or allowable, which include drive-through facility, C-store with or without gas, neighborhood motor vehicle repair, and car wash facility. Look at the future land use map, we're R4 with CMU 12 and OC 20 to the west. Under the zoning map, there's PDs, ASC1s, a mix of uses. But when you look at uses on the along the arterial road on Bloomingdale Avenue, it takes a lot of a different picture. So you have the site in the middle, there's county retention to the east, church to the west, fire department next to the west, daycare. Across from that is another daycare, bank and financial, vacant retentions across the street. So just in the immediate vicinity are a number of non-residential uses. When you look at the zoning recommendation, they also indicate nearby vicinity on Bloomingdale Avenue consists of child care centers, light commercial uses, public institutional uses, Bloomingdale Senior High School, and multi-family residential uses. Planning Commission, their report characterizes light commercial exists to the southwest across from Bloomingdale Avenue. Zoning Department recommendation notes the proposed restrictions does prohibit the high traffic potential uses, and to the east and south are vacant retention areas which would buffer the proposed commercial district that's proposed. Looking at Bloomingdale Avenue, it is a 4-lane divided roadway. 2023 carried almost 30,000 vehicles per day, and actually notes 584 pedestrians, which I just assume are from the high school. It is a Hillsborough arterial roadway, and that is what the location waiver is based upon, the unique location of the adjacent wet storm and across street retention, the existing uses along Bloomingdale and the immediate vicinity, and the intensity of Bloomingdale Avenue. We have noted restrict access from Hurley, which is abutting the retention on the east. Transportation Department does not object to that restriction. Now, under the Brandon Community Plan, it is located in the suburban district. And when you look at the Brandon Community Plan, the Planning Commission notes the Brandon Community Plan describes the suburban character district as primarily residential with predominantly single-family homes. But we would suggest to you that Bloomingdale has come a long way, and that the uses and activity and the existing activity along Bloomingdale Avenue is not as indicated in the community plan as being predominantly single-family homes. So as indicated in the staff report, you go everywhere from a Walmart to a pretty long line of drive-through restaurants, Starbucks. You have the high school, office commercial, then you have the zoning site in red and all the other uses that I've shown you to the west of those. Again, specifically those various uses. Again, zoning recommendation is in the report, consist of many of those uses. They refer to like commercial uses as the Planning Commission. So with the restrictions that we proposed, the use intensities in the area, the roadway intensity, and the inability, maybe the inability is not a good word, but we believe the difficulty the community plan places on a suburban district, which is really we don't agree with. We believe it is of a different character, request reconsideration support. Now, one last item I do want to put on record. One element of concern raised in the staff reports is the residential use that's located to the north. So looking at the site abutting to the north is a residential use. I did stop by when I was looking at the site, and I did catch Mrs. Valentine. I spoke with Ms. Valentine myself personally. And why we don't have a statement from her or anything in writing, I did explain to her exactly what was being requested. Of course, she received the notices, the big yellow sign. But my understanding, and not speaking for her at all, is that she indicated neither support or against. I don't know if she's here this evening. I'm just relaying my conversation. The applicant's here as well. He had a conversation as well. He'll take a few moments for some comments if he may, and he'll refer to the same discussion. Any questions we can answer for you?
I have no questions for you, Mr.
Thank you.
Pressman. Thank you.
Hey, this is Dr. Kevin Cruz, and my address is 13011 Tall Redwood Lane in Dover, Florida. And of course, we're requesting the zoning here. We understand that the neighbors, are going to be impacted by what we're doing. Did speak with Martha Valentine, who owns the property directly north on Hurley Road, and just informed her of my intentions to rezone the property to the lowest form of commercial or neighborhood commercial. I also told her about the restrictions limiting anything too high volume, like a drive-through or a gas station. I gave her some examples of the types of businesses. With the one directly east, closest to us was AJ Bikes. It's about 800 feet away. She did understand why no one would want to build a house on the lot. And she did say if I had trouble rezoning to let her know. I also spoke with the pastor, Richie Gomez, who's the pastor of the church, and again, excuse my pronunciation, Iglesia Transformando El Mundo, which is the property directly borders the western border of my property. Again, I shared with him my intentions to rezone the property in the lowest form of commercial. I also told Pastor Gomez how the neighborhood commercial designation would restrict the high volumes, such as, again, drive-throughs or gas stations. I also gave him some examples, the same thing I already listed with Mrs. Valentine's. Pastor Gomez did not share his feelings, but he was interested in buying the property. Pastor Gomez was aware of the rezoning, but said he was not able to attend. However, he said he may send a representative from the church to represent himself instead.
All right, sir, thank you. Be sure and sign in, both of you, please, with the clerk. Thank you. All right, Development Services.
Good evening, Michelle Montalbano, Development Services. The applicant is requesting to rezone approximately 0.7 acres of land from RSC2 to CNR. The property is located in the Brandon area along Bloomingdale Avenue. The surrounding area is composed of mixed uses, including single-family residential, multi-family residential, office uses, and institutional uses. The subject site is bordered by a single-family residence, a church, and a county-owned retention area across Hurley Road, all zoned ASC1. Across Bloomingdale Avenue is a single-family housing development zoned RSC6. To address compatibility concerns with the proposed CN district, the applicant has proposed conditions to prohibit the following uses: all drive-through facilities, convenience stores with or without gas pumps, car wash facilities, and neighborhood motor vehicle repair. While these restrictions limit some of the higher traffic potential uses, such as fast food drive-throughs, staff ultimately finds the CN district incompatible with the uses and zoning districts in the surrounding area. The CN district introduces retail uses, which is not consistent with uses in the nearby vicinity, which consist of office uses, residential uses, and residential support uses, such as churches, schools, and daycare centers. The closest zoning district permitting similar retail uses to CNR is approximately 2,000 feet to the west. Also, the potential CNR uses may be too intense to be compatible with the abutting single-family residence to the north. The applicant also proposed to prohibit access to Bloomingdale Avenue in response to concerns from transportation review staff, who ultimately found no objection to the request. And I'm available if you have any questions.
All right, thank you. No questions for you. Planning Commission?
Good evening, Terry Crowell. This subject site has a future land use designation of residential 4. It's in the urban service area and located within the limits of the Brandon Community Plan. The applicant is proposing to rezone the subject site to CNR to allow for commercial uses on the site. The property is currently vacant. The applicant is requesting CNR zoning that restricts drive-through facilities, convenience stores with or without gas pumps, motor vehicle repair, and car wash facilities. Additionally, the applicant is proposing no access from Bloomingdale Avenue. Although the restrictions are proposed, there are compatibility concerns with the remaining range of commercial uses that could be permitted due to the existing single-family homes immediately to the north of the subject site. The subject site is within the limits of the Brandon Community Plan, specifically within the Brandon Suburban Character District on the Character District map. Goal 6 of the Brandon Community Plan describes the Suburban Character District as primarily residential with predominantly single-family homes. The zoning request to CNR does not align with the Suburban Character District vision. Based on the above considerations and following goals, objectives, and policy, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed rezoning inconsistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. All right, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in support of this application? All right, I do not hear anyone. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? All right, I do not hear anyone. Development Services, anything further?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Pressman, anything further?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you. This will close the hearing on rezoning standard 24-1203.
Our next application is item C4, standard rezoning 24-1297. The applicant is rezoning property from RC6 to RDC6. Logan McCaig with Development Services will present staff findings after the applicant's presentation.
Hi, good evening. My name is Hani Orlando Gonzalez. My address is 10005 North Hyacinth Avenue, Tampa, Florida. I'm here on behalf of David Higuera, the owner of the property. He's unable to attend. The purpose of the request is for rezoning. He would like to rezone it from RSC6 to RSD6 to build a duplex in the half-acre lot. I have some PowerPoints. I have a PowerPoint and I have some documentation here to present.
Okay, and just to be clear, do we have an agent authorization in this case?
We're checking on that.
All right. Do you know whether Mr. Higuera signed any authorization for you to represent him at the hearing?
I don't. He's on a flight right now, so he just asked me to come in and bring this information. I think I can have him on the line. He might have been delayed. Can I have him on the phone if I can get him?
Staff is checking the record right now, so we'll stand by just for a minute while they do that. Thank you.
Madam Hearing Officer, I'd like to ask whether or not the applicant could virtually join the meeting. Would that be possible?
I have him on WhatsApp. I can put him in right now, if you would like. He was not able to join in through the Zoom. For some reason, his link was not working. But he's on the plane right now. They're just waiting to depart. It's going to be about 10 or 15 minutes before they depart.
We can see if HTV would be able to assist you. I know we have a representative here, if they're able to talk with our folks on the 28th floor.
I'm not sure. Do you want to speak? Does somebody want to speak to him or?
Yeah, I don't know if you're able to speak with him on the phone.
All right, we'll stand by just a minute and see if we can address this technical issue.
Can you get an email?
Yeah, can you do that? Can they do that? Okay, yeah. Whatever you can do to get him to join the meeting virtually. Well, I mean, they said his flight's taking off in 10, 15 minutes, so I don't know.
All right, I think what we'll do is we'll just postpone the hearing on this one for a few minutes and see if we can resolve the technical issue. And we'll go to the next case. Then if this pops up and he's able to give authorization, we'll just work that in. And then if that works, we can hear from the authorized agent. All right, but we won't delay the hearing for that. I'm not sure how long it'll take. All right, so the item, standard rezoning 24-1297, and we're not continuing it, we're just putting it in abeyance for a few minutes, and we'll come back to it. So next case, please.
Our next item is item C5, standard rezoning 25-0059. The applicant is requesting to rezone property from AR to AS1, and James Baker with Development Services will provide staff findings after the applicant's presentation.
Good evening, Madam Hearing Officer. For the record, Michael Brooks, 400 North Tampa Street, Suite 1910, Tampa 33603. For the sake of brevity, I'm going to show Madam Hearing Officer one exhibit. There's discussion in the staff report about the properties and the purpose for what this application is for. The properties are remnants or portions of 3 platted lots. The Lynn Estates platted lot, and I do have one of these that I'll put into the record. The portion to the west has been sold and is the subject of a CPA application and another rezoning. The CPA has been recommended for approval for Res 4 by the Planning Commission. The zoning hearing master has recommended approval of the companion zoning. The Boyette on the east side is the boundary of the urban service area, but in the CPA application of, I'm going to call it the related case, the Planning Commission had identified the 500-foot strip along Boyette as the transitional area, which is currently Res 2. But the purpose of this application is, and that cross-hatched area is the 6.8 acres, is to try to put back the parcels as they existed along Boyette so that we can have 3 parcels there. They're existing manufactured home. There are some agricultural uses, and so AS1 really was the appropriate category there. We don't have any objections to the staff findings, so I'm going to let them go ahead and start.
All right, thank you. Is there any movement on the prior case? Okay, thank you. All right, we'll hear from staff in 25-0059.
Good evening, James Baker, Development Services. Rezoning standard 25-0059. Requested to zone from the existing agricultural zoning of 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres to AS1 dwelling unit per 1 acre. Total acreage is 6.81 acres. The site is an area comprised of agricultural and single-family residential uses. The properties to the north are within the RS1 category. South and east are the agricultural, rural, 1.5 category, and west is the residential 2 category. The size and depth of the subject parcel in relation to other adjacent agricultural and residential uses would create a zoning development pattern that is consistent with existing zoning and development pattern of the agricultural and residential uses zoning districts in the area. Additional information. If PD 24-007 is not approved by the BOCC on January 9th, the adjacent western parcel's access will need to be addressed when the subject properties are subdivided. PD 24-0707 has a companion comprehensive plan amendment, CPA, and is scheduled for the BOCC CPA public hearing with the rezoning rather than 2 separate hearings, one for the rezoning and one for the CPA. You have any further questions or anything I need to add?
No questions for you. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right. Planning Commission?
Good evening, Terry Royal, Planning Commission staff. The subject site has a future land use designation of residential 2. It's in the urban service area and located within the South Shore Area-wide Systems Community Plan. Flu Objective 16 and its accompanying policies 16.1, 16.2, 16.3, and 16.5 require all new development to be compatible to the surrounding neighborhood. Goal 12 and Objective 12-1 of the community design component of the flu require new developments to recognize the existing community and be designed to relate and be compatible with the predominant character of the surrounding area. In this case, the surrounding land use pattern is comprised mostly of single-family residential uses, agricultural uses, and HOA common property. The proposed rezoning would align with the character of the surrounding area, which is consistent with the flu Objective 16 and its accompanying policies. Based on the above considerations and the following goals, objectives, and policies, Planning Commission staff find the proposed rezoning consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan.
All right, thank you very much. All right, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in support of this application? Not hearing anyone. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? All right, do not hear anyone. Development Services, anything further?
No, ma'am.
All right, and applicant, anything further? No, ma'am. All right, that's a no. So this will close the hearing on rezoning standard 25-0059. And where are we on 24-1297?
I believe the applicant has now joined on WebEx, so HTV is going to see if his video and audio will come up.
All right.
If you want to go ahead and ask him to join the meeting.
Yes.
David has joined, and we do see his video. David, can I get a mic test, please?
Yes. Hello, David speaking.
All right. Okay. I can see you. I can hear you. Are you David Higuera? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me? Yes, I'm David Higuera.
Okay.
I do authorize my proxy, Hania, to speak on my behalf.
Okay. The name of the person who's speaking on your behalf?
Hania Irlanda.
Okay. Okay, so the person here to speak for you is authorized to speak for you.
Okay, there you go.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, sir. That's what we needed to hear. All right, that's all we need from Mr. Higuera. And
I would like to remain online because we're on the road, so. Okay.
Okay, we can hear from your agent now. I just need her to come forward, please. All right, so we're back to rezoning standard 24-1297. And I'm sorry, your name again, please?
Hania Irlanda Gonzalez.
Ms. Gonzalez. Pick up where you left off. Thank you.
My apologies. My address again, 10005 North Hyacinth Avenue, Tampa, Florida. So we are here to propose, to request the rezoning of the empty lot that is in the back of the original property from RSC 6 to RSD 6 to build a duplex on the half-acre lot. Continue.
All right, and you said you had a presentation that you wanted to, are you going to present that tonight and talk about it, or?
Yes.
Okay, you can place it on the overhead there, or unless you have a flash drive? Okay, that's fine. We can put that up.
Okay, so as to the proposal is for the rezoning of the RS6 to the RSD.
Make sure that you bring the microphone over to you, please. Thank you. No problem.
It's my first time here. So that's the proposal. The lot is, there are two lots on the property. One is a .44 acre lot. The other one is a .05 acres. Kind of looks like an easement, but it's not. The current lots are vacant with enough space to build multiple structures. The size of the two lots combined is .49 acres, and it is zoned RSC6 for single-family home. He's only proposing, he's in the process of combining the lots into one to make the process easier. The merge was approved by the property appraisal and some of the departments in the parcel certification process. That is the two lots combined. The red part is the .05 lot. Okay, so the community impact, it will be beautiful to the neighborhood with new homes, increase property values, and improve housing challenges. I work in the property in front of it. I see that area every day when I go to work, and right now it's just an empty lot with a fence, and there's a lot of animals that go back there, especially like a family of cats. So he's trying to rezone it to build houses in there. Okay. Each side of the duplex will have its own driveway, so we should not see any vehicles on the road. There should be no traffic concerns for the parking. The home will have a driveway for each vehicle. There should be no environmental impact. The neighborhood compatibility, a few multi-resident homes in the neighborhood, and some with efficiencies. Okay, this is a multifamily home that is on 2898 Burt's Avenue. I believe that's to the north of the property. And these are multifamily homes that are in the neighborhood. 3 of those houses are on Xanthus, which is directly behind Waters Avenue. The property is located between Waters and Xanthus on Paddock Avenue.
Okay, and you're saying multifamily, but they look like duplexes or triplexes?
So the previous slide, this is a duplex. So those are two. It's 2 homes, but they are technically, I guess, called duplexes. These are actually single-family homes, but they have rental units in the back, like efficiencies. And the circle area is where the property would be at, the homes that he wants to build. The further up in the area, the one by Waters Avenue, that's the commercial property. The picture on the top has 2 buildings used for residential purpose in a single lot. The picture on the bottom are 2 family homes on a quarter lot, each with multiple driveways and efficiencies added. And that was the previous slide. The residents of the trailer park, which is, this is the north area of the property. This is the east area, which is the fence that's connected to the Vein Center, is the commercial property. And this is the west area. That's where the trailer park is at. The resident of the trailer park said that he would like to see a nice building in the vacant lot. The lot is basically vacant right now. And there's an RV space, mobile homes, trailer parks on the west side off of Waters Avenue. And this is the north side, that's where the commercial building is at. There'll be plenty of space between the homes. Basically, what he wanted to point out is that there's going to be a lot of space between the home that is on Xanthus Avenue and Paddock from the one that he wants to build. And the pictures of the whole area. Do you have any questions? I apologize.
I don't think I have any questions for you.
Okay.
It's fine.
All right.
Are you going to submit that into the record? Do you have a printout of it or something?
Yes, several.
Okay, that's fine. Just sign in right here, and you can submit everything to the clerk.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, development services.
Good evening, Logan McCaig, Development Services, application 24-1297. The applicant is requesting to rezone a parcel from RSC6 to RDC6 to allow for the construction of a duplex on the parcel. The property is located along North Paddock, approximately 200 feet north of West Waters, is budding commercial neighborhood zoning to the south, residential and residential single family on all other sides. There are pockets of duplexes and multifamily in the area, and across the North Paddock to the west, there is an approved non-conforming use mobile home park containing a maximum of 33 spaces. Subject property totaling 0.48 acres located along North Paddock is approximately 200 feet north of Waters. Surrounding area primarily consists of single-family houses to the northeast and west, with commercial zoning to the south. There are several pockets, various consisting of differing uses such as office residential and residential duplex in the same RDC6 as the requested rezoning. Staff finds the request approvable with zoning standards. Additionally, the subject parcel was two separate parcels at the initiation of the rezoning application. Merging and certification of the two parcels was recommended by staff and completed by the applicant, as one of the two original parcels was too small to meet the minimum requirements for the requested zoning. That's all. I'm available for any questions if you have any.
All right, no questions for you. Thank you. Planning Commission?
Good evening, Tariq, Planning Commission staff. The subject site has a future land use designation of residential 6. It's in the urban service area and not located within a community plan. Per flu policy, objective 8, the future land use categories outline a maximum level of intensity or density in the range of permitted land uses allowed in each category. Residential 6 allows for a maximum consideration of up to 0.25 FAR or up to 6 dwelling units per gross acre. Currently on the subject site of plus or minus 0.43 acres, up to 2 dwelling units can be considered. Therefore, the density of the proposal is consistent with Objective 8. Based on the above considerations and the following goals, objectives, and policies, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed rezoning consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan, subject to the conditions set by Development Services. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in support of this application? All right, do not hear anyone. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application?
Good evening. My name's Walter Rockcamp. My address is 2806 West Xanthus Street. I'm opposed to this because of the property that is located behind my property, okay, is adjacent to the property they want to rezone. It is a wooded area and it is constantly flooded. So with them building on this and not having a drainage, there was a drain there at one time that was behind 2808 West Xanthus Street. But over the years, because of the growth and everything, it no longer drains. So if they build on this property, I would like to know how do they plan on doing something with the drainage there?
All right. And that's not a question I can
Well, I know
answer
that,
for
I know
you.
that. Yeah, but that's pretty much where I stand.
Okay.
Okay, is that,
Or
if they build on that lot, then what's going to happen is I don't see where it's going to drain off at.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
I appreciate your testimony. All right, is there anyone else here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? All right, not hearing anyone. Development Services, anything further?
No, ma'am.
All right, I guess Development Services, this is a standard rezoning, and I guess in response to the concern raised by the neighbor, if this were to be approved, if this rezoning were to be approved, and the applicant would have to then go through site planning, and that would require any water retention issues to be addressed at that time, wouldn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, applicant, anything further? I think that was Ms. Gonzalez. Don't have anything further?
No.
All right, thank you. All right, that will close the hearing on rezoning standard 24-1297.
Our next application is item D1, Major Mod 24-0384. The applicant is requesting a major mod to PD 21-0969. Jared Follin with Development Services will provide staff findings after the applicant's presentation.
Good evening. My name is Gordon Schiff. I'm with the law firm of Gordon J. Schiff, PA, and I represent the applicant. My address is 4155 West Cypress Street, Tampa 33607. I wanted to just start with, we have a project team slide, and I'll go ahead and show that to you, or maybe not. No, we won't. I just click it. Yeah. All right, thank you. So with me tonight, Tristan LaMontagne, who's with Second Wave Development. I already introduced myself. We have Jeremy Couch, PE with Tampa Civil Design, Steve Henry, PE with Links and Associates, and Alexis Crespo, AICP with RVI Planning and Landscape Architects. And the general request, just to summarize it for you tonight, is this is a major modification to amend the conditions of the existing approved plan development, PD 21-0969, as follows. One, increase the unit count from 469 residential units to 500 units. And then the second major part is modify the non-residential use to uses that allow the following options: 10,000 square feet of daycare center with 150 students, or 10,000 square feet of office, or 6,000 square feet of medical office, or a place of religious assembly with a maximum of 100 seats. I will submit the CVs of all of the experts I just introduced in just a minute. I'll also submit written reports that Ms. Crespo and Mr. Couch have prepared. You already have a written report prepared by Mr. Henry, and I'll submit all of those into the record, as well as the slide deck that we will present as we go along here. And with that, I'm going to introduce Tristan LaMontagne, and he'll be followed by the other experts. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Tristan LaMontagne. I'm here on behalf of Second Wave, who is the sponsor of this project. Address is 180 Fountain Parkway North, St. Petersburg, Florida, 33716. I've been managing this project since its original rezoning in 2021. So if there's any questions I can help answer, I'm happy to. Thank you.
All right, thank you. No questions for you.
Good evening, Alexis Crespo. I'm Vice President of Planning with RVI Planning and Landscape Architecture, and I will just walk you through the planning components of the project. The 56-acre subject property is on this slide before you, outlined in blue. It is located on the north side of Simmons Loop Road. It is south of St. Joseph's Hospital and Big Bend Road, and west of Wildgrass Apartments, which you can see to our immediate east. And that was also developed by Second Wave, the applicant for tonight's project. You can see from the aerial that this is a relatively an infill site with some lower density single family uses, but also a lot of emerging intensive development around the area along Simmons Loop, as well as coming down 301 and Big Bend Road. When you look at the surrounding land use pattern, I'll just start from the north and west and work my way around the site. Of course, you have a major node of the hospital to our immediate north and west. The frontage of Big Bend Road is lined with commercial retail as well as some light industrial uses. We also have multifamily abutting us to our immediate north within urban future land use categories with the groves at South Shore. As I noted, there is a recently constructed apartment to our immediate west, and that is the Wildgrass Apartments. That is developed at 9 units per acre, which is the same density we are seeking through the major modification here this evening, and again, developed by the applicant. As you move to the south of Simmons Loop, you have some existing large lot residential as well as some newly developed smaller clustered residential subdivisions along that roadway. And then very recently, the county approved a PD to allow for nursing assisted living facility also to the south and west of the property. And then lastly, you can see the dashed line of that newly constructed Gate Dancer Road extension, which is going to be a nice reliever for this area and get people able to move south and then over across the interstate using that roadway. So obviously a well-developed area with not only existing subdivisions, but emerging more dense urban uses in the area. And this is really done via your comprehensive plan. As you can see, the property is within that light pink color, which is your SMU 6, which does allow for a mix of residential and neighborhood-friendly commercial uses. To the immediate north, you can see the pinks and purples, which are your community mixed use, allowing 12 units per acre, as well as your urban mixed use, allowing 20 units per acre along the roadway. So a very transitional area, but we're well within that SMU 6 future land use category, as well as, of course, the urban service area. What we're proposing through the major modification, including the range of non-residential uses that Mr. Schiff outlined, as well as the increase of 31 additional units, is still well within the bounds of the comprehensive plan as recently amended. We are consistent with policy 236 of the future land use element, which is your mixed use bonus density criteria, where if you have 3 distinct land uses within a mixed use project, you can achieve that bonus density of up to 9 units per acre in SMU 6. The policy does explicitly state that single family and multifamily are distinctive land uses for applying that policy. So between the single family proposed, as well as duplex, townhome, multifamily, and the non-residential uses conditioned through 1.4 in your staff report, we are consistent with those policies, and I believe we are in agreement with the Planning Commission on that. Looking at the zoning map, this is just extracted from your staff report. We have been zoned PD since 2022. As Tristan noted, we do have a mix of planned development zoning districts surrounding us, as well as some residential AS1 and RS C2. As Gordon noted, the zoning does currently today allow for 469 dwelling units and a 10,000 square foot non-residential component capped at 100 children for a daycare use. We did find, due to market demand and the sizes of those types of facilities, the 100 child cap was very difficult to attract an end user for that. So that's partially why we're coming back before you.
That's what I was going to just ask you, if you could speak to the reasons for these changes. It looks like just a remix of uses and square footages and that sort of thing, but I just wanted to hear that. It's market demand, and that's the basis.
Correct. This just will broaden the allowable non-residential uses, and you'll see that we are increasing the child count up to 150, which is what you're seeing is the industry standard today. What I do want to spend a moment walking you through are the careful limitations to address compatibility with those larger lot residential neighborhoods around us. We worked diligently with the community the first time around and did so, and had a community meeting the second time around, and have maintained all the compatibility design measures in the previous zoning. This is the currently approved PD plan. We limited the building height in those yellow areas to 1 story to, again, maintain compatibility with our single-story neighbors to the west. We also limited the areas shown in orange there to 2 stories in height so that the character along Simmons Loop and adjacent to other single-family on the east side would not be disturbed. So the 3-story units as approved and as proposed today would be internal to the site and abutting other multifamily uses are just well screened by perimeter buildings as well as the wetlands to our north. We do have the type D buffers, which would have planting shrubs as well as opaque fencing along all those boundaries where we abut single-family uses. The commercial use was approved on that western track, again, limited in building height to 1 story, limited in FAR below what is allowed in this future land use category, and then tightly limited in terms of the allowable uses to be friendly to our neighbors. Kind of similarly, we located the amenity center over on the east side of the site to be far away from any lower density neighbors. And then lastly, you'll note that the site plan continues and did preserve the large wetland to the north of the site, providing for a cluster development program and natural resource protection. So as Mr. Schiff noted, we are seeking an additional 31 units. When we reconfigured the site with different product types, we're actually going for a more traditional neighborhood development style of project now with more townhomes and attached villa type products, which are always permitted, but they've redone the site plan. We are able to achieve 31 additional units with the reconfiguration of the units internally. Jeremy Couch is the mastermind of the site plan, so he's coming up next and can discuss that. But even with the additional density, we're able to maintain all those compatibility components we noted in terms of buffering, preserve open space. The list of uses is expanded to maintain the daycare, as that is really a highly demanded use, but increase it to 150 children. The actual footprint would not change. Similarly, we were seeking the ability to do a general office type use or 6,000 square foot of medical office. Medical office generates more trips, so we have a reduced square footage if we choose to move forward with that type of office space. The fourth concept that we believe is going to be very neighborhood friendly would be a place of worship or church, a neighborhood church with a limit to 100 seats, and that could also be appropriate in the area. All of those uses are allowed by the locational criteria within the SMU 6, and as noted, would achieve compliance with the mixed use policy. So this is our proposed plan. This is not on an aerial, but it's the black and white version, and just memorializing here that we've maintained all of those compatibility measures from the previous zoning. And I've really walked through those, so I think I'll pass it over to Jeremy to speak to the site plan and stormwater.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, Madam Hearing Master. Jeremy Couch with Tampa Civil, 17937 Hunting Bow Circle, Lutz, and I am the engineer of record for the Simmons Loop, also known as Olado Apartment Project. My firm was responsible for the creation of the PD plan for this application, along with the previous PD plan under application 21-0969. In addition, on working with the rezoning applications, my firm prepared the construction plans that are currently approved for the site under PI 6449. It is my testimony that the PD/general site plan was prepared under my responsible charge and is in compliance with section 6.2.1 of the DRPM and 5.03.05 of the Land Development Code. And I'm here if you have any questions. Thank you.
No questions for you. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Steve Henry, Links & Associates, 5023 West Laurel, Tampa 33607. We conducted the original analysis for the original rezoning and also the updated for this one, and also did the design exception and administrative variances that go with the project. And I'm here to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you. I have no questions for
you. All right, thank you.
Right. That concludes our initial presentation. We, of course, reserve the right for rebuttal, and we do have a courtesy copy of the submittals that I made earlier for you, Madam Hearing Officer.
Thank you so much.
We're available to answer any questions.
All right, leave your documents with the clerk, and I will get them and make sure everybody signs in. Thank you. All right, Development Services.
Good evening, Jared Fallon with Development Services. So this is a major modification to Plan Development 21-0969 for the property generally located at 6600 through 6700 block of Simmons Loop. And this is in the Riverview area. So with this plan development, there is a residential component and a commercial component. The residential component is being modified to increase the number of residential units to 500, which is from 469. And these residential units include single family, two family, and multifamily. The breakdown of the number of units has also been modified. If you look on the first page, you can see the proposed modifications. Minimum of 50 must now be single family or townhome type units. 26% will then need to be single family detached duplexes or townhomes, and then the remainder can be multifamily. And multifamily is a total of 370. For the non-residential portion, as been stated, they are increasing the types of commercial that are permitted. Originally, it was just a daycare, and now it is daycare plus the professional office, health practitioner's office, and place of worship. Another major change was to condition number 1.4. This dealt with them to ensure a mixture of uses is to be built. Originally, the condition stated that they had to complete the non-residential portion of the project first before they can start residential. But this has been revised to now allow them to construct residential up to a point let's see, 333 units, which is before the bonus density. But once they have the non-residential element built and in operation, they can begin with the bonus density units. So in review of this major modification, the addition of 31 residential units, which is a 6.6% increase, and the addition of non-residential uses, all allowed in the business professional office zoning district, did not raise any compatibility concerns from the staff, and nor did it warrant changes to the approved buffer and screening. We find these changes appropriate to the existing PD and find the major modification approval. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much. No questions for you. Planning Commission?
Thank you. Terry Corolla, Planning Commission staff. The subject site has a future land use designation of suburban mixed use 6. It's in the urban service area and located within the Riverview Community Plan. The applicant is requesting to utilize the mixed-use density bonus as outlined in FLU policy 19.3, which would allow for the consideration of up to 9 dwelling units per gross acre, with 55.58 acres dedicated to residential development. Up to 500 dwelling units may be considered, utilizing the mixed-use density bonus. The applicant has proposed conditions of approval that are integral to the Planning Commission staff's finding of consistent. Those conditions ensure that the residential units obtained by the mixed-use density bonus will not be constructed until the 2 additional uses are in place per the requirement of the bonus. Based upon the proposed conditions of the approval and the mixed-use density bonus is supported and found consistent with the policy direction as outlined in FLU policy 19.3 of the comprehensive plan. Based upon the above considerations and the following goals, objectives, and policies, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed major modification consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan, subject to the conditions proposed by the Hillsborough County Development Services Department. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in support of this application? I do not hear anyone. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? All right, I don't hear anyone. Development Services, anything further?
No, ma'am.
All right. And applicant, anything further?
Nothing further tonight. We respectfully request your recommendation of approval.
Thank you very much. All right, this closes the hearing on major modification 24-0384. Before the next case, we're going to take a quick 5-minute break. So 5-minute break starting now, and we'll reconvene in 5 minutes. 8:18.
That way, here. Yeah. Entrance. Follow me. My sister was asking me if she could ride, and I was like, yeah, sure.
All right, thank you. If you would, everyone, please take your seats. We're going to reconvene now. And we're ready to call the next case.
Our next application is item D2 PD 24-1040. The applicant is requesting to rezone property zoned AR to PD. Tanya Chappella with Development Services will provide staff findings after the applicant's presentation. And also just to note that this is tied to a comprehensive plan amendment, and both this rezoning and the comprehensive plan amendment will be taken up on the February 13th, 2025 BOCC CPA hearing at 6 p.m.
Thank you. Applicant?
Hi, good afternoon, Madam Hearing Officer. My name is Ann Pollock, 200 Central Avenue in St. Pete. I represent the applicant, Valencia Estate at Stone Lake. The representative of the applicant, Vijaya Badagiri, is here tonight, along with our civil engineer, Ryan Renardo, and our traffic engineer, Steve Henry. So the subject property is located on Thanodisasa Road. It's about 39 acres in size. It's in the rural service area and in the Thanodisasa community plan area. There are many similar uses on the surrounding properties, so I wanted to go through and give you a little understanding of what's there. To the west is pasture land, but it was recently approved for a 27-unit single-family subdivision, Zone PD and Res 1 future land use. To the northwest is a 160-unit subdivision, zoned PD, and has AR and AE land use, but it had increased density via the flex provision. To the south is a mobile home park with about 150 units, Res 1. Then there's a single-family home, and then to the southeast is another little neighborhood of homes, about half an acre to an acre in size, zoned AS1. To the east is rural residential, and to the north is pastureland and wetlands, and the only parcel that does not have a Res 1 future land use. So a little summary of what we're requesting: a PD rezoning to allow a single-family conventional subdivision here with a maximum of 30 units on the 39-acre parcel. Also to allow accessory dwellings, accessory structures, detached garage, and backyard chickens. Basically, the idea is to allow a little bit of flexibility in design so that we don't have a one-size-fits-all development here in the rural service area. We do have a concurrent comp plan amendment. The Planning Commission unanimously found it consistent and recommended approval, and they both will be heard together by the BOCC. Access, as you can see, is to the south onto Thanodisasa Road. That second, more southerly cul-de-sac is where we have an emergency-only access stub out. There is no road over there, so nothing is actually going to connect until the neighbor decides to build. We are going to make major improvements to Thanodisasa Road, however, widening and repaving it to McIntosh Road. So the county staff report recommended approval with no objections, and the Planning Commission provided a report on how the project is consistent. We wanted to briefly go through that tonight. The project is consistent with the Res 1 and rural area policies. The intent of the Res 1 is to designate areas for rural residential compatible with short-term ag, and that's what we're doing here. Res 1 and rural residential uses are found on 3 sides of the property and throughout the Thanodisasa area, or via similar flex approval, like the Stone Lake Ranch to the northwest. Again, max density of 39, and we're providing 30. Comparable densities nearby, which I'm going to go into in a little more detail in just a minute, but also to note, private well and septic tanks will be provided because we are in the rural service area, so no county utilities will be extended. Importantly, this is in the Thanodisasa community plan area, and the project is consistent with that. I wanted to hit on just a few points from the plan that I think are important. Of course, we are requiring a minimum of 1-acre residential lots. But Goal 3, I think, really gets at what the Thanodisasa Community Plan is all about. It's a balance of a variety of uses, including residential. It encourages agriculture, protection of property rights, and rural residential, which is what we are proposing here tonight. Then by proposing that rural residential housing in a location that's appropriate for greater density, compatible with the area, and in a manner that will continue to protect the area's rural character, we are contributing to the vision of the Thenoda-Sassa Community Plan. And the Planning Commission has both found that the request meets Goal 3 and is otherwise consistent with the community plan. We are also consistent with the neighborhood protection policies. We're providing a continuing transition of intensity along Thenoda-Sassa. We're creating like uses as you can find adjacent to the property and along Thenoda-Sassa. We're mitigating adverse impacts through our plan, including access planning, transportation improvements, buffering and screening. And the Planning Commission has said that the creation of single-family lots here would be consistent with these policies because the use is similar and complementary to the surrounding residential and agricultural uses. We're also consistent with the compatibility and design neighborhood protection policies. These work to protect the area by ensuring the project meets the character of the surrounding area. Again, we've got the minimum 1 acre lots. We're meeting rural development standards. We're not proposing any commercial development, and there are similar and compatible uses around there. And again, the county has found that we're comparable with the surrounding residential uses, compatible with the surrounding area, and the zoning would meet the intent of preserving rural residential lifestyles. So to determine compatibility with the character of the area, you really need to understand what's around. So this is a quick look at what is there. And really, it's a considerable amount of rural residential, particularly lots that are less than 1.5 acres in size. The pink is our property right there in the middle, almost completely surrounded by Res 1, which is that khaki color. Looking more closely to the northwest is the Stone Lake Ranch property, which again has a future land use mostly of AR, but as part of its approval in the 2000s, the flex provision was allowed to pull density over from the Res 1 and the AR, the AE, to allow a density that is pretty compatible with what we're requesting, and was essentially a comp plan amendment, but you can't do that anymore. They took away that requirement. To the south is that mobile home park in red, and to the east in purple is Thenoda-Sassa Road, and a little more, I'm going to go into a little more detail on that. So if you look here, you can see that same area that I was just showing. In pink, again on the northwest side, that's our property. The green and red are less than 2 acres in size, and that's about 71% of the 166 lots in this area. And then in red are lots that are less than 1.5 acres, 67% of those lots. So really you can tell that what we're requesting is compatible with the surrounding development of the area. We're also, again, compatible with the nearby zoning. You can see the subdivisions that have been approved or developed to the west and the northwest. And to the southeast and further east, you see the AS1, where there's already development that's similar and compatible. And the rest is mostly AR, but pretty much almost all of that is Res 1. So future development could be more intense. So taking a quick look at transportation, we will have that gated access from Thenoda-Sassa to the south. We received an administrative variance, or deemed approvable administrative variance from the county engineer to allow a variance to the minimum access spacing to allow the driveway entrance where we're proposing it, which is basically in line with the mobile home park entrance to the south. It makes more sense than complying with that requirement. Again, we have that emergency-only cross-access to the east. We have to put in that cul-de-sac because of the length of the road, but we would require the neighbor's approval or their future development in order for that access point to actually work. The project is on the Thenoda-Sassa Scenic Corridor, and so we have 30 feet of preserved land adjacent there saved. And ultimately, we feel that this really is a minimal transportation impact. It will create a de minimis amount of PM peak hour trips. we are lower than the standard level of service, and we have a design exception deemed approvable to improve Thenoda-Sassa Road, which is substandard. So in summary, consistent with the comp plan, with the Res 1 category, with the rural area policies, the Thenoda-Sassa community plan, the neighborhood protection policies, all of it pretty much, compatible with the character of the development pattern in the area and the surrounding zoning. The Planning Commission at its hearing found the Res 1 request to be compatible, and the Planning Commission staff report found this zoning to be consistent with the comp plan and compatible with the development in the area. Finally, the staff report has recommended approval and has no objections from any reviewing agencies. And of course, we have the design exception administrative variance deemed approvable. We did have a neighborhood meeting. We initiated that back a little bit ago where we discussed both the comp plan amendment and the rezoning. We had maybe 5 or 6 people show up, and we've had some conversations with them since. But for the most part, we haven't had any opposition from them. So with that, I would like to thank you for hearing and respectfully request your approval.
All right, thank you very much. No questions for you. And Development Services.
Good evening, Tanya Chupela, Development Services. The existing zoning is agricultural rural, which permits a single-family residential and agricultural uses. The proposed zoning for planned development is to allow 30 single-family residential lots, accessory dwellings, accessory structures, backyard chickens, and detached garage. The proposed uses are comparable to the surrounding residential uses, and the proposed layout is compatible with the surrounding development pattern. Furthermore, the proposed 0.76 dwelling units per acre density is under the 1 dwelling unit per acre maximum density allowable in the Res 1 comprehensive plan category. Furthermore, the adjacent development to the west was approved for a 0.73 dwelling unit per acre density, and it's comparable with the proposed 0.76 dwelling units per acre. Staff finds the proposed modification to be compatible with the surrounding properties and in keeping the general development pattern of the area. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the applicant's request.
All right, thank you, Ms. Chapella. No questions for you. All right, Planning Commission.
Good evening, Tarek Royal, Planning Commission staff. The subject site has a future land use designation of agricultural rural 1.5. It's in a rural area and located in the Thenoda-Sassa Community Plan. On November 18, 2024, the Planning Commission found the proposed plan amendment 2427 that is concurrent with this plan development to be consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. Residential 1 future land use category can be considered for a maximum density of 1 dwelling unit per acre and a maximum intensity of a 0.25 FAR. The applicant is proposing 30 residential units. However, the Res 1 would allow for up to 39 residential units. The proposal meets the Thenoda-Sassa Community Plan strategy, which requires a minimal lot size of 1 acre for residential development within the residential 1, agricultural estate, and agricultural rural future land use categories. Based on the above considerations and the following goals, objectives, and policies, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed plan development consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan, subject to the conditions set by Development Services. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in support of this application? I do not hear anyone. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? I do not hear anyone. Development Services, anything further?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Applicant, anything further?
I just wanted to point out that we turned in a letter from the property owner to the west who's in support of the project. And there's been a lot of conversations with the Stone Lake Ranch folks, the HOA, and they have been in support, though they didn't write a letter.
Okay,
thanks.
Thank you. All right, this closes the hearing on rezoning PD 24-1040. All
Our next application is item D3, PD 24-1231. The applicant is requesting to rezone property from PD 221338 and RSC6 to plain development. And Sam Ball with Development Services will provide staff findings after the applicant's presentation.
Good evening, Madam Hearing Master. We don't have any objection to moving forward tonight. Thank you very much for the disclosure.
All right, good, thank you.
Yes. Elise Batzel with Stearns Weaver Miller for the record. I'm here tonight with the development team, Jeremy Couch with Tampa Civil, Steve Henry with Links and Associates, David Smith of Stearns Weaver, and Steve Beachy of KV Homes, who's another AICP planner with us. Before we start, we did provide some notebooks, and we'll have a couple other documents if it's okay to submit those into the record. One of the things that's in your materials, because Development Services is not supportive of the application, we have prepared proposed conditions for your review as well. And the only thing I want to note is that originally we were proposing 180 townhome units and 1 single-family dwelling unit. We've further reduced that based on some engineering and based on our community meeting. And so we're now requesting 164 townhome units and 1 single-family dwelling unit. The property is approximately 17.74 acres. It is located north of Kirby Street and east of the Hillsborough River. It is within the urban service area, and it's part of the East Lake Orient Community Planning area. It's a split future land use and a split zoning. So the part closer to the west is R6, and there's this portion that's also R20. With respect to the zoning, and we'll talk about this a little more, most of the property, a majority of the property was rezoned in 2022 under 221338, and there's a very small portion that's a single-family home that's currently zoned RSC6. The surrounding uses to the north and the west is actually the Hillsborough River. To the south, this says single-family detached residential, but as I started to research the neighborhood to the south further, it's actually single-family detached condos and townhomes to the south. And to the east of the property are multifamily apartments and townhomes. So this is the current site plan approval in a very basic way. The current approval allows 204 multifamily dwelling units. That's a density of 11.78 dwelling units per acre. At the time, the prior applicant requested a flex of the Res 20 to get that additional density. The proposed project is now 164 townhome units, so feasible ownership as opposed to rentals, and the 1 existing single-family dwelling unit, which is to the south. It's the little stub out that you see. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. We've reduced then the request for density to 9.3 dwelling units per acre, and we have removed the request for the flex. This is just a comparison so that you can see the reduction in units. So the unit count, we've removed and reduced 39 units. We have reduced the density about 20%, and our height has gone from 55 feet maximum down to 35 feet maximum, which is more appropriate for townhomes. In the prior rezoning, we did have variations to buffers, but we're complying with that in this plan. I won't go into detail, because the Planning Commission will, but the Planning Commission has found this consistent with the provisions of the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan. And there are a number of community plan policies that this application actually furthers. The project provides diversified options for residents. The project protects the wetlands by providing a 50-foot wetland area conservation setback line. It eliminates the flex altogether, which the community plan actually discourages. In addition, the project supports housing opportunities and promotes home ownership. And finally, we believe the project proposes a more compatible residential density to the surrounding area. So compatibility becomes the big issue. As you looked at the staff report, you probably noticed that the Planning Commission was in support and Development Services did object. Transportation had no objections and was in support. but it all came down to the issue of the access. Development Services actually says in their staff report, if we are utilizing the Kirby Street access, which is the existing access, they believe that this project is compatible with the existing development and zoning in the area. So this is what we're proposing. The Kirby Street access, which was the full access, is now proposed to be a second emergency access.
And just quick question.
Yes, please.
I know you're going to get to this,
That's
but
okay. Ask away.
in the currently existing approved zoning, was it the Kirby address, the Kirby Street was the access?
Yes.
And that was the only access?
The only access.
Okay, thank you.
So we're adding, and actually just as a little bit of background, when we met in the pre-app with transportation staff, they said, can you find a way to have access on Porpoise rather than Kirby because it's so constrained? And we can talk more about that as well. So this is what the proposed access will look like from a visual perspective. These are renderings that at maturity, this is to scale and will show what the drive will look like. It is 28 feet in width. And the gate that we're proposing is actually set back 150 feet from Porpoise Drive. So there's a buffered, nice little entrance before you get back to the townhomes. We will have landscape buffering on either side. This is the current approved access on Kirby. If we were to develop under the existing entitlements, we would have to improve this, but it's very constrained. So the driveway itself would be 19 feet. And on one side, you could have, and Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong, 5-foot sidewalk, and then that's right up against the fence, because that's just as much space as there is. No space for landscaping at all. So to sort of lead into our experts, I wanted to read through Development Services' conclusion, because words in this respect are really pretty important. They say, based on the above considerations, staff finds the proposed development's access to Porpoise Drive would adversely impact the functional and visual character of the neighborhood and would be incompatible with the development pattern in the area. So I tried to break that down to understand what that meant, and so did our folks that are on our development team. So we talk about functional character, I think, and they're probably going to tell you they believe that's the traffic going through the neighborhood. Number 2, the visual character, right? We are removing one single-family home and adding a buffered access. And then finally, incompatibility with the development pattern. And so at this point in time, I'd like to ask Steve Henry to come up and talk about the first issue, which is the functional classification of the roadway.
Good evening, Steve Henry, Links & Associates, 5023 West Laurel, Tampa 33607. And we had done the traffic analysis for the project and also the administrative variance that is before you that has been deemed approvable. But to talk about the functionality, the Porpoise Drive is currently classified as a local road. And the county has certain criteria as to when it's considered a local road or when it's considered a collector road, which is about 5,000 cars per day. Today, it functions as a local road. When you add this project to it, it will continue to be a local road. In fact, it is only about a third of the volume that it would be to be a collector road. So it will function as a local road. In addition to that, when you look at the amount of traffic that we're going to add to that road, it's less than 2 cars per minute. So it's a very low volume amount of traffic that we're adding to the road. And again, the functionality of it will remain as it is, which is a local road. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to call up David Smith, who's going to talk about the visual compatibility and the development pattern in the area.
Good evening, David Smith, 401 East Jackson Street, 33601, with Stearns Weaver Miller, Director of Development and Zoning. I provided in the binder a report that details my compatibility analysis and consistency analysis, and I won't read that whole report, but I will like to focus and summarize for you. So as Elisa's already mentioned, this development is being proposed essentially for one main reason, that is to provide better access that's more standard access for this platted subdivision than the access point to Kirby. During the public hearings in the past, that access point through Kirby has been widely discussed, and in fact, all the statements that we received during those hearings indicated they just didn't like that access. It's narrow, and where it comes out on the 50th Street. So the KB Homes undertook the opportunity to improve that. That's why we're here tonight, and that's why we have an access point on Porpoise. So the current approval that's out there was found consistent and compatible with the comprehensive plan. Also, that it was consistent with the surrounding community when the Board of County Commissioners approved that zoning. This proposal does not change really the components and elements of that development, but for the access to Porpoise Drive. I think, in my professional opinion, that what has occurred here is that the one singular issue that is a component in the comprehensive plan to determine compatibility, the one element, they've taken as access, and they've made the determination based upon that sole criteria, which we believe is inconsistent with the way the plan is required to be reviewed, and it really narrows the focus and loses, I'd say, misses the picture by picking on the one point. So in the written report that I provided, I went through the comprehensive plan policies. And just to point out several of the things that we've done, we've got a development that has a platted access point. We have a single-family lot on Porpoise Drive is being removed in order to provide for that standard access point. We're reducing the number of units. We have a platted subdivision that's providing single-family opportunities, ownership opportunities, as opposed to apartments, which was also comments in the prior zoning. And it's being simple ownership and a reduced height. So the Planning Commission, in finding it consistent with the comprehensive plan and compatible with the community, was very clear that this fit into the fabric of the community. It's consistent with the neighborhood. Again, I think what is occurring here on development services staff is that they focused on the compatibility as to this one stretch of Porpoise Drive, not necessarily the whole context. The community out there is a mixed grid pattern within the neighborhood. It has multifamily, it has single-family attached, it has single-family detached, and looking at all of the neighborhood, all of the community, to pick out this one issue for access to Porpoise, I think misses the point of why we do community planning. It's not just the point on the map, it's the collective of the neighborhood. So when I go through my findings, we're in the urban service area. We're at a density that's 85% of the density required to meet the standards. And the compatibility definition that's just pointed out, it basically says it's not same as, and there are various elements. And again, height, scale, mass, bulk of structures, pedestrian traffic, vehicular circulation, access parking, landscaping, lighting, and noise. Again, all of these except for the traffic component has been focused on when staff has made their appointment that it's the visual and the functional nature would impact negatively the community. From a functional aspect, it still is a neighborhood street connecting to another local street. All of these streets out there in this community are local roads. And so they're all interconnected, and it will not dramatically alter any of the patterns, and as spoken by, running out of time?
Yes. Is it your professional opinion that the development is?
Okay, I was going to just ask that very question.
Yeah, I'll get right to the end because that's really smart stuff, but you can see it. So my personal opinion is that the 165-unit single-family attached townhome and one single-family home that's going to be out on 50th Street, as requested, is designed is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan, the East Lake Orient Park Community Plan, the Land Development Code. Secondly, the project as designed reflects sensitivity to the surrounding community by providing development and scale with its surroundings, with buffering and setbacks that provide a transition to the neighborhood that will not adversely affect or impact the change in functional or visual character of the community. And therefore, the project is compatible and consistent with the comprehensive plan.
All right, and then I have a question just briefly for you. And Mr. Henry did talk about the volume of traffic. And you talked about, of course, the compatibility with the surrounding uses and the development pattern in the area. But Specifically, I mean, removal of that one single-family home in that area and creating an entrance there.
Yes, ma'am.
And the additional traffic. In your professional opinion, then, doesn't create compatibility concern with the neighborhood?
No, I think in my professional opinion, is that this one access point, removing that home, one, doesn't change really the visual character of the neighborhood, because now you have a driveway that is, you're not seeing a home right there, it's set back. Functionally, it's still going to function appropriately as a local road, and I think the volume of traffic, while in our community meeting, we said there will be more traffic on that segment of the road, but overall, from what we currently have approved in the neighborhood, the volume of traffic is going to be really insignificant because everything ends up on 50th Street.
All right, thank you very much. No
Yes,
more
ma'am,
questions
thank
for
you.
you. And be sure and sign in, Mr. Smith.
For the record, I did want to mention Steve Beachy also has documents confirming the same opinion as Mr. Smith for the record. We'll submit those. I did want to just tell you about our community meeting. So we had a community meeting, a noticed community meeting, and gathered all of the neighbors, went through the current approvals and the current access, and then went through what was being proposed. And actually there in your records, you will see that each person that was there actually took a survey that talked about the existing development, and they talked specifically about their preference to keep the access on Kirby or to move the access to Porpoise. And out of the 12 responses, 10 of those responses preferred the plan and particularly preferred the access to Porpoise. And those that documentation is in your records. So really quickly to summarize, the big picture here, in our opinion, is less density, a reduced height, the elimination of a flex, more compatible use, more compatible scale, more compatible density, and you're avoiding that single access. We didn't talk about that, but redundancy is always good in access for emergency purposes. And the one issue that Development Services had, of course, was the access on Porpoise. We do believe that we have demonstrated by competent substantial evidence that the proposed project is consistent with the comp plan, compatible with the surrounding uses, and we've met the procedural requirements of the Land Development Code. We respectfully request your approval. Thank you. And if we could reserve time for rebuttal, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay. Development Services.
Good evening, Sam Ball of Hillsborough County Development Services. The applicant is requesting to rezone 17.74 acres from PD and RSC 6 to planned development to allow for the development of fee simple attached single-family platted townhome dwellings and for a single-family residence to remain developed in accordance with RSC 6 requirements. This application also includes removing the approved flex from Res 20. The property is located approximately half a mile north of Sly Avenue, half a mile west of 56th Street, and within the East Lake Orient Park Community Plan area. The Hillsborough River runs along the north boundary, and the property abuts the city of Tampa to the west and to the north. The adjoining properties to the east are developed for multifamily use, and the properties to the south are developed for detached single-family use. The maximum density to the south is 6 dwellings, or maximum allowable density to the south is 6 dwellings per acre, and the maximum allowable density to the east is 20 dwellings per acre. If the proposed application is approved, the total number of allowable dwelling units would be decreased from 206 to what was 181, and now would be 164 townhomes. I did not verify the density calculations for that change, but prior to that it'd be 10.28 dwellings per acre. If this development were to use the existing approved access from PD 221338, staff finds the proposed townhome use would be compatible with the existing development and zoning pattern in the area. This approved access point is located to the north of the adjacent single-family subdivision and was the subject of a previous litigation which determined it to be sufficient. However, the proposed development would include the replacement of a single-family residence on Porpoise Drive with a non-emergency access point to serve the proposed townhome development. This private access to Porpoise Drive is proposed in a location that was not originally contemplated when the subdivision was developed, and replace an existing single-family home mid-block within a subdivision with an access drive serving the townhome project with the 164 units. The proposed access would reroute all the traffic for the project through the existing single-family neighborhood. Staff finds this proposed development configuration would have an inverse impact on the neighborhood by significantly changing the character of this single-family area that was developed in 1970. This configuration will significantly alter the visual continuity of the long-established single-family neighborhood by converting an existing platted residential lot with a home with other existing homes on both sides into an access drive for the proposed development. Based on these considerations, staff finds the proposed development's access to Porpoise Drive would adversely impact the functional and visual character of the neighborhood and would be incompatible with the development pattern in the area. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions.
No, I don't think I have any questions for you. I understand staff's, you made it clear in the report. So
awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, Planning Commission.
Good evening, Terry Crowell, Planning Commission staff. The subject site has a future land use designation of residential 6 and residential 20. It's in the urban service area and located within the limits of the East Lake Orient Park Community Plan. Planning Commission staff notes that the East Lake Orient Park Community Plan clearly states the following: preserve the existing single-family residential, Res 6, and allow no further expansion of the residential 20 in the area west of North 56th Street to the city of Tampa and north of Hannah Avenue to the city of Temple Terrace, as indicated on the East Lake Orient Park Community Plan preferred elements map. As this site is in the specified area, the previously requested flex was not supported by Planning Commission staff, as it would lead to a further expansion of the residential 20 into the residential 6, even though the actual build-out would be closer to 11 dwelling units per acre. Removal of the proposed flex meets the intent of the community plan. Therefore, the proposed development is consistent with the East Lake Orient Park Community Plan. Based upon the above considerations and the following goals, objectives, and policies, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed plan development consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan, but subject to the conditions set by Development Services Department. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in support of this application? I do not hear anyone. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? All right, come forward, please. I need you to state your name and address. Make sure you're in the microphone. We can hear you.
Absolutely. Thank you. My name is Patrick Kilker. I live at 7025 Doreen Street, Tampa, Florida, 33617. I've been testifying at hearings for this development for probably over 15 to 20 years. That's how long this has been going before the zoning board, and it has been approved in piecemeal through various zoning hearings. I agree completely. I'm opposed to this development because of what the county has discerned with the access to the development. I don't think there's sufficient access. I was against it on Kirby Street. I see they've improved their plan to add Porpoise Street, which that's good. I think that's good, but I'm still kind of opposed to the plan. My other problem was a lot of these approvals were done and assessments were done probably 10 or 15 years ago. I'd like to have another stormwater assessment done on the entire site, because recently it's been discovered that the Kirby Whittier Street retention pond has been flooding into Doreen and Kirby Street for probably 15 or 20 years. County engineers weren't aware of the reason why that flooding was happening, but during Hurricane Milton, The retention pond floods, it backs up through the culverts and floods the streets. During Milton, it actually came over, breached the retention pond and flooded multiple houses on Doreen and Whittier Street, which is 1 block away from the Kirby Street entrance. My request is that the county can guarantee the people on Doreen and Whittier Street that none of the stormwater from this development is going to end up in our houses. And that's the only thing that I'm really concerned about. Keep the stormwater out of our houses.
All right, thank you. I'll, maybe the applicant can address that in their rebuttal. Also, just to be clear then, you're not concerned with this additional access on Porpoise. You think that's probably a good change?
Well, having two accesses is better than having one. The Kirby Street access did not match any county code for an entrance or an access. It was substandard. So having that access is better than none.
Okay.
And I'm especially concerned about the stormwater runoff from the Kirby Street access and where that water is going to go, because it can't go to the retention pond on Whittier Street.
And where is your property exactly from the subject property?
Doreen Street is a block. Kirby Street, I live Doreen Street is a block away from the Kirby Street entrance, and I'm the second house on Doreen Street.
Got it. Okay.
7025. I've noticed in the application.
I'll look it up. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's perfect. Thank you. But you're not on Porpoise. You're not on that road.
I'm on Doreen Street.
Okay.
Right adjacent to Kirby.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Be sure to sign in right here with the clerk. All right. Development Services, anything further?
Nothing further. I would just add that under this modification, there will be one access. There will not be one access on Kirby and one on Porpoise. The Kirby would become emergency access only, and the Porpoise Drive would be the primary access for the project.
Okay. Thank you for pointing that out. I do understand that. Okay. Applicant, so rebuttal and summation.
I'd ask for Jeremy Couch to come up and address the stormwater issues.
Thank you.
Evening, Madam Hearing Officer, Jeremy Couch with Tampa Civil, 17937 Hunting Bow Circle. So I believe the retention pond that the gentleman is speaking to is over here to the east. In relation, this is our project area over here to the west. We are going to have our own internal surface water management system, and all of our discharges will go west to the Hillsborough River away from this neighborhood. And we'll meet all of the county criteria.
All right, I understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I have the overhead? Thank you. I just wanted to show a map of the neighborhood to the south. We were talking specifically about Porpoise Drive, but the neighborhood itself that we're talking about has over 900 homes. I was talking earlier, I was under the impression looking at this that they were all single family, but in fact there's a combination of single family, 160 condominiums, and just under 200 townhomes and villas in this area. And I also wanted to point out that we're talking about this new access drive on Porpoise coming into the neighborhood. But we did note that just south of Porpoise Drive over along the river, there's an existing townhome project that also connects directly through the neighborhood, sort of that same development pattern. So I did want to put that on the record. And that's all.
Thank you. I had this lingering question about Kirby.
Yes, please.
Kirby Street, and I don't know if it was you or Mr. Henry who said the width of that Kirby Street.
I probably did. Jeremy, or in the prior zoning, we had to get a design exception for not only the width of Kirby, but also the flare to go out. So Steve and Jeremy can probably speak to the specifics a little more specifically.
I just have sort of I guess my question goes to public safety, and you know, this new access that you're proposing compared to the Kirby access, you know, from a safety point of view.
Absolutely, with respect to the...
Yeah, maybe Mr. Henry can speak to that.
again, Steve Henry.
What are the advantages over this when they're impacting a neighborhood, removing a home and putting an access there? So what is the sort of maybe public safety? What's
Sure.
the comparison there?
I think two things. One is, sure. And I think they're putting up the typical section and but while they're fiddling with that. So from a public safety standpoint, one, the Kirby Street access is only 30 feet wide. So it was a design exception that was approved previously, partially through the courts, because that was the only access for that piece of property. But it is very limited in the width of it. On Porpoise, we don't have a design exception for Porpoise. The reason we don't have a design exception for Porpoise, it is a standard local road. The width, it has curb and gutter, it has sidewalks. So from a traffic safety standpoint and circulation standpoint, Porpoise, having that as the main access, is a better access for this property, and then having Kirby as the emergency access from a safety standpoint, from a circulation standpoint, is a much better configuration than just having the Kirby access itself.
All right, and I guess I was getting to, what justifies making this sort of change in this neighborhood on Porpoise, from having that access on Kirby. And I'm wondering if there's a safety issue there, and it would be better for the new development, of course. So I guess you've sort of addressed that.
Correct, yes, it is definitely much better for the newer development. Yes. And this kind of gives you the cross section. You can go back to the Elmo. I don't know if you can see it very well on here, but this was the section that was approved as part of the design exception for the previous, which again, very limited as far as the width of that, trying to get, trucks or cars up and down that. Any breakdown would break down the road.
Oh, I see. That's true. And then any sidewalk areas, I think there was a mention that it would be right up against the fence or the wall.
Correct. So and this is unlike you would have in other areas where you would have a downslope and some grass area. This is walls on both sides of it. So it's extremely limited in the width of that street.
Right. Okay. I understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just to add one point, if you don't mind, Madam Hearing Master, just to remind you that this idea of access on Porpoise actually came from transportation staff initially. The developer went out and actually put that property under contract, negotiated for that, and kind of designed the project based on just some preliminary discussions that transportation prefers this to the limited and constrained Kirby access. So we really were trying to respond to staff.
Okay, I understand.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have any more questions for you.
Thank you for your time.
All right. That closes the hearing then on rezoning PD 24-1231. And this concludes the zoning hearing master meeting for December 16th, 2024.